To most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist. Born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars. Found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that has not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered lens? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
Makes a mistake again. He missed a shift. He's going to spin to the inside turn. He's going to take the lead.
Eli Hinton just got used up there in the hairpin.
He's going to pick up a win after a long winless streak and visit victory lane. And the whole field just needs to get himself slowed down, hop these curves, up and over. There's that cannon running a 10 wide. Great restart here for the 2 car, but also for the 48. He crosses him over, down into turn 1, there goes the tail. Here comes the 20 alongside. The 13 car gets turned. He's going to spin in turn 2.
Welcome all to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. My name is Kyle Heyer alongside Finney Nakuna and Jarrett Mackey for the 4th round of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. About a month ago, we had about 25 drivers traverse Circuit of the Americas out in Austin, Texas, and 2 wild races were held out there, and this week we had to a little bit smaller racetrack out in Northern California. Welcome to Monterey, and it's time for round number 4. And Finian, we saw some exciting racing at Circuit of the Americas. We saw some drivers blow their motor on the last lap. We saw DJ Alessandrini come on through for a victory and steal one away. We saw some incredible battles up front, but the draft was the big story there. This week, it's not about the draft, it's all about precision.
Yeah, indeed it is, and especially when you talk about one of the most famous corners in North America, the corkscrew. That corner, it's definitely going to take some lives tonight, as it usually does at any race car that you come here with. That guy's got to traverse this very difficult course. And
we have Jarrett Mackey back with us again. Jarrett, welcome back. I know it's been you had some hardware issues for a couple of these events, but you're back now, and you'll be talking to the stewards back to us so we can get filled in on this information. But Laguna Seca, a great racetrack. Tonight, what do you think you're going to have to be dealing with out there? Are we going to see a lot of off tracks, a lot of contact, or are you thinking this will be a little bit cleaner like Circuit of the Americas was last week? Or last month, excuse me.
Finney made a great point referencing the corkscrew. Everyone knows about the corkscrew. Everyone knows the dangers that come along with it. I think a lot of the contact and a lot of the altercations we're going to see are going to take place in that corkscrew. It's a blind hill. You come up on the top of it, you can't see what's down there. So if someone spun out or something, I honestly could see a lot of plows happening in that corkscrew.
Absolutely. So as we take a look at our at the track guide here tonight, just keep in mind that we're going to do that in just a moment. Keep in mind it's 11 corners around here, but the first corner is actually not really a corner. It's just a kink in the front straightaway. Turn number 2 is down there, and that is where really what would traditionally be turn number 1. Let's take a look at our point standings after Circuit of the Americas a month ago. And Finney and DJ Alessandrini has been rock solid these first couple races. Leads the points by 21 points. It's almost a full race ahead of Jesse Stevens and that number 13.
Yeah, he's been on a tear as far as the points are concerned, and it's going to take a lot for people to catch back up to him. And I think really what it's going to take is for him to have a bad few weeks, making some mistakes, which is kind of a characteristic of him. We've seen him in several different series. He's a man that makes very few mistakes.
Robert Hartley and Nathan Saxon also within the top 5. Saxon dropped down a spot at Circuit of the Americas. How about Jonathan DeCousier, one of the guys that helped us start broadcasting about a year and a half ago? He's sitting 5th in the point standings as you watch the rest of those scroll down the grid there. But we want to mention that we are SimTV, and we're from a much smaller YouTube channel that you can find a link to in the description. We stream most weeks, 5 to 7 days a week, all leagues from all over the iRacing platform, and we work with a bunch of great guys, so that link is in the description, as well as the links to our sponsors. And we're going to take a look at our track guide, but we want to tell you about a very exciting new sponsor that's with us from here on out for the rest of the season. We'll tell you about them as soon as we go through our iRacing track guide from Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Located in Monterey, California, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is a 2.238-mile, 11-turn road course. The name Laguna Seca is Spanish for dry lagoon, as the course occupies a dried-up lake bed. The course was home to MotoGP, IMSA, the American Le Mans Series, and other national racing series. Heading down a long straightaway under a pedestrian bridge, drivers will get all the way into 5th gear, traveling well over 100 miles per hour before making a slight left turn. This turn is turn 1, but the real adventure begins in turn 2. This corner is a double apex downhill left, forcing drivers to shift all the way down to 2nd gear. 2 subsequent right-hand turns follow. Turn 3 is the 3rd gear corner, and turn 4 is a 4th gear corner. A short straightaway brings drivers to turn 5, a fast banked left-hander with a tight exit. Up the hill and under another bridge, drivers arrive at turn 6, a fast turn that dips down and compresses the suspension. Then more uphill follows, leading to turns 7 and 8. This complex is called the corkscrew, and it's a harrowing several-story drop, meaning any mistake here will send you far off course. Turns 9 and 10 are fast sweeping turns with no asphalt runoff. If you run wide, you're going for a ride. Turn 11 is a tight hairpin that is one of the track's best passing opportunities and one of the hardest braking zones. That completes a lap around Laguna Seca. Drivers tonight will have 20 minutes in race number 1 and 30 minutes in race number 2 to survive the corkscrew. Welcome back live now to Winding Road Magazine, and we want to take a quick moment to thank a new sponsor this week, and that is going to be Paradigm Shift. And Paradigm Shift has come on board a couple races into the season for the remainder of the season. You see their bright yellow logo there in the top right-hand corner. And they're based in Atlanta, Georgia. Paradigm Shift is a driver development company that's moving away from traditional driving instruction and aims to bring racers a more up-to-date approach. In their best-selling Science of Speed book series, Paradigm Shift's teaching philosophy is described as a physics-based approach to finding the ideal racing line that has then been distilled into an optimal but intuitive way of driving a race car. On their website, you can also find detailed track notes for many well-known tracks in North America and Europe, and you can find that link in the video description below. So check them out along with our other sponsors, LevelUp Racing School, WeatherTech, and Winding Road Magazine and Winding Road Racing. All those sponsors are in the description. Please do take a time to check them out. We have 12 minutes remaining in qualifying, so pull up another tab and see what they have to offer there as we get ready to start tonight's race. At the top of the screen, you're going to see the names scrolling across. Everyone's qualifying out of the racetrack right now, setting their best time they can. Finian, qualifying at Laguna Seca going to be a lot more important than it was at COTA, I would think.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a lot more important here. You can't rely on, as you're saying, you can't really rely on that draft. It's not, the straightaways aren't really long enough, except the one on the front, to really get a nice run going. Yeah, but other than that, it's pretty much a bunch of turns connected. So you want to make sure that you get a good qualifying lap in. You want to get up to the top of the board because it's going to be kind of hard to pass here.
And not a whole lot of runoff room here this week. Now, Jarrett, that's something that we don't really have to deal with this week that we had to deal with last time. At Circuit of the Americas, there was about a mile of pavement runoff in every single corner. This week, it's sand and gravel, so risk versus reward, that's going to be important in both rounds tonight. Do you expect that to be an issue, though, because the track's a lot narrower than Circuit of the Americas, and that might mean we might see some more car-to-car contact?
There's going to be a lot of car-to-car contact. There's going to be a lot of off-tracks. Honestly, I don't know what to expect. This is going to be a crazy race. Like you said, Circuit of the Americas, so much runoff room there, and it's all concrete, too, so that's another thing to take into account, whereas here it's sand, it's dirt, you could get loose and spin out and come back into the field, so anything can truly happen tonight when it comes to car contact and off-track.
All right, taking a look at our weather conditions here tonight, 66 in the air, very cool temperature there, but track temp 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Finian, that's hot, that's slick. And I drove this car earlier today doing the track guide in a lot cooler conditions, and it was like driving a go-kart, but you can get pretty sideways out here, especially with the high-load corners like you saw Mitchell Peak just running through in that number 15 car. High-load corners, lots of suspension travel, you can bottom out and spin yourself out.
Yeah, and I think especially in the corner heading up towards the corkscrew, if you hit that in the wrong way, you can send the car flying, or even just those red curbs on the inside, preventing the corner cutting. If you launch off those, you will launch off those. The car will get two wheels in the air. So you guys got to be a little bit careful with that.
Luke Pfeiffer in the number 06. He's working his way around turn number 6 at the moment, heading up to turn 7-8. That's the corkscrew complex we talked about. Very challenging section of the racetrack, but right now Chris Henn is at the top of the board in that number 33 machine. He's taken provisional pole by a tenth of a second. No, never mind. Matt Busa jumps to the top, and there's that Williams Esports driver competing in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series on Tuesday nights. And he's gone to the top of the board by 4/10 of a second. Paul Darling in the 55 is out on track, or just coming back out on track to improve his lap times. Take a look at I just want to take a look at the format for tonight real quick, Finian. Race 1 happening in about 10 minutes. A 20-minute sprint race, a 15-incident limit, 2 championship point deduction for exceeding 15 incidents. That was a story last week, Finian. You have to treat those incidents like a resource, but race number 2 at 9:35, a 30-minute sprint race, 17-incident limit, a couple more to play with, but I think you're going to want to keep those incidents down, but you do kind of have to treat them like a non-renewable resource out there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that Busa, a nice, good pull for him, hasn't been able to get really good finishes as of late. He's kind of struggled in that department, not really to his own fault. He's just kind of been in bad scenarios. So hopefully he can get a nice finish starting from pole. That'll give him a big advantage.
Jonathan White, the number 22, he's out on course right now, and he's got that's 51 tucked in behind him. That's Steve Ficacci, another carryover from the Sim Championship Racing Series that started with Sim TV about last February, so February of 2018. And Ficacci works his way down through the corkscrew now, and it's hard to, Finian, a lot of people say Laguna Seca is a relatively straightforward racetrack other than the corkscrew, but this place is so important to hit those apexes exactly right. I mean, if you miss it by an inch, you're going off by a mile, and there's not a lot of racetracks that are like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, pretty much if you miss, like you said, if you miss your mark, you're going out into the sand. And also, too, very flowy racetrack. So, like, if you make a mistake exiting one corner, it'll ruin your exit. It'll ruin your entry for the next corner and just the runs that you have. So, you got to make sure. Again, it's a very flowy racetrack, especially in these cars. That momentum is key for these guys.
Thomas Bresci in the number 24. He's sitting in 4th at the moment, and he's had some really good finishes lately, Finian. And I think he walked in here really not expecting a whole lot. If we take a look at his driver profile here, you take a look at that number in the top right of the graphic, that's his I rating. It's 1,564. And we talk about iRacing quite a bit here, Finian. It doesn't mean anything in this series, but it's a good indicator of driver skill. Now, in the iRacing platform, when you finish in the top half of the field, you gain I rating. You finish in the bottom half, you lose I rating. That's a pretty broad simplification, but there are drivers in this field. I'm looking at Robert Hartley that have over 9,000. Now, the average of iRacers is 1,500. Thomas Bresci is 1,564. I think he walked in here not expecting a whole lot, but he has really been able to perform these last couple weeks, and I think he's looking to jump up a few spots in the point standings.
Yeah, at the rate he's been going at, I definitely think he will be able to do just that. So he'll be definitely a driver to keep an eye on here. Especially as qualifying is going to be coming to a close here soon. We'll see if he can try to put in a better time.
We mentioned Robert Hartley. He's driving the 03 car tonight from Pelion, South Carolina, and he's got a couple victories to his name so far this season. Again, 2 race formats, and we've run 3 rounds so far, so 6 total, and he's won a few of them, I believe. So that 03 comes across the line. Qualifying effort, not fantastic so far for the number 03, Finian. Only 17th. I imagine he's going to try to improve that. And he's got about 6.5 minutes left to do so. A couple of the drivers we haven't really talked a whole lot about this season. How about Brian Cheney in the number 05? That bright green. It's almost like a... what's the word I'm looking for? What's the milkshake at McDonald's? Oh, the Shamrock Shake. It's like a Shamrock Shake colored car that 05's got on it. And so far 20th with 141.071. That's going to put him 1.6 seconds behind Chris Henn, who has retaken provisional pole by 23 thousandths of a second over Matt Busa.
So it looks like the track is starting to heat up, or starting to get a little bit more grippy as more and more guys are putting down time. So the track is going to get faster and faster towards the end of qualifying here. We might see some other guys, maybe see someone be able to dethrone Chris Henn.
And it looks like Busa's kind of coasting around the racetrack right now, probably setting up for a quick lap. He's got enough time left to go at it. We've had 23 cars take times. There are 24 cars capable of racing in this session. The last one that is here that is not currently on track is Will Salisbury in the number 70. And Busa now letting Mitchell Peak on by to the inside. Peak in 9th place right now and works his way down into the corkscrew. All right, so 20-minute first round, Finian. Now, Circuit of the Americas, we thought that the field would be all tight up and close together. That wasn't the case. How do you feel like everyone's going to run tonight? Do you think they're going to run close together or be a little bit more separated out?
I think guys are definitely going to be more separated out, especially when you get to the back half of the track, what's really, including the corkscrew. You're going to hear us talk about it a lot tonight, the corkscrew. But yeah, I think once you get to the back half of the course, it's really when a lot of the guys get separated. It's such a fast section, and if you can be really fast, you're going to drive away from everyone else. So I think we're going to see a lot more separation than we had at COTA.
Matt Busa just drove about half the front straightaway in the dirt. Michael Borden in the 42. He's following that number 34 of Busa and trying to get in the draft. Now, the draft isn't ultra important here like it was at Circuit of the Americas, but it's still going to be a huge factor, especially if the leaders are close together on that last lap. Not a whole lot of opportunities to use it, really only the front straightaway and maybe heading up the hill a little bit, but it's certainly not a lap demanding a lot of draft like Circuit of the Americas was a month ago. So Borden right now following that 34. Borden's currently sitting 4th. This is a good effort for him in that number 42 so far. Jack Sanchez in the 23. He had a really rough time at COTA last month, looking to just improve and finish these races. Zanoa Wilson in the 84, currently 14th, one position behind Jack Sanchez, and Wilson in another one of those brightly colored purple, magenta, pink machines. And DJ Alessandrini, Finian, I say only 6th. Well, that's no shabby qualifying effort, but for Alessandrini, that's certainly not where he's going to want to start this race, but I imagine he's going to be a tough one to beat come the end of the race.
Yeah, actually, he's coming across the line now. Let's see, does he improve? He does. And that'll put him fourth.
So a better effort there. So up to fourth for the number 26. Paul Darling has moved his way into third. That's a great effort for the number 55. Remember, we're familiar with Paul Darling from... Oh, he goes off track there on the exit of turn 6. Familiar with Paul Darling from his time over in the Grid Life iRacers group that was on SimTV a couple months ago, as well as the Washington, D.C. region SCCA that was with us over the winter. Some great races on there. Actually, I think one of the Grid Life races still is our most popular video on our channel. Again, you can find a link to those in the description, as well as to our sponsors. You see LevelUp, WeatherTech, Winding Road Racing, and Paradigm Driver Development, all scrolling across the bottom, or excuse me, the top right of the screen. All coming on board, offering season-end prizes, about 4K a piece, and that the winner will get to select that. So there's a lot on the line for these drivers, and this is really a way to kickstart your career if you're interested in motorsports and racing, and what better place to do it than the iRacing platform?
Yeah, indeed, and really we've seen some fantastic racing for all three of the races, all three of the rounds so far this season, and expecting that to continue tonight, especially if it comes down to it. I think I'm definitely down to seeing guys fighting side by side through the corkscrew and just the rest of this track, because this track can put on some fantastic battles.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the track guide, Laguna Seca is actually Spanish for dry lake bed or something of the sort, which is really interesting, because I did not know that this track is actually built in a dry lake bed.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that it was built in a dry lake bed, considering how much elevation.
Well, it's just dry. It's. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, they say dried up, lake bed. They're really not kidding. I mean, it's bone dry out here and brown most of the year. But very little interesting tidbit that I learned doing the track guide today. So about 1 minute and 20 seconds left in qualifying. Chris Henn seems satisfied with his time, as does Matt Busa. A couple drivers, Paul Darling, DJ Alessandrini, and a bunch of others are still out on track trying to make time. You see, there's the 41 of, I believe that's Nathan Saxon, and he's pulled off. I think he's warming up for a hot lap here. All right, so the first race is going to be 20 minutes, and we saw how hectic that can get. Last week at Circuit of the Americas, first corner was pretty wild. Now here, I think we're going to see, like you said, Finian, we'll probably see some more separation, but I do think we're going to see more contact. I think it's so difficult to pass here. COTA is full of passing opportunities, and Laguna Seca has got a few, but really the best places to pass are turn 11, which is the hairpin leading onto the front straightaway, and probably into the corkscrew if you're really brave and you can fake someone out.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, you might want to throw turn 1 in there. Good up passing opportunity, just getting a little bit of a draft and run down to the entry. I also think trouble 1 might be a trouble spot on lap 1, just due to the nature of these guys coming up to full speed. It's a very, very tempting to try to outbrake people heading down in there the first time, gaining a lot of spots. So we could see some incidents.
Nathan Saxon drop a wheel off the racetrack. Now, we're going to talk a lot about incidents again tonight as qualifying completes, and there goes Saxon, whoop, into the fence. And right over onto the roll cage, and good thing they have him. So I wanted to talk again briefly about the incident system here. So every time that you bring the center line of your race car, so basically draw a center line in between your wheels down the middle of your car, anytime that drifts over the edge of the curb or over the edge of the racetrack, that is a 1x, and those can add up and total to the limits, which are 15x in race number 1 and 17 in race number 2. And those are limits that also have car contact involved. So if you make significant contact with someone else, it's a 4x. If you spin out, it's a 2x. If you make light contact, it's a 0x. And you have to pay attention to how many you have and how many you've racked up in case you don't want to get yourself those penalty points, which could be the difference between a driver at the end of the season going home empty-handed or walking away with an opportunity to test a real SPEC MX-5 Cup car at Circuit of the Americas, take a track day with LevelUp Racing School, or do a track day with Winding Road Racing. So there's a lot of cool prizes at the end, and WeatherTech offering per race prizes. And there's a lot of great people working with us. And again, I keep saying it, but while we got about 1 minute and 15 seconds left of cooldown time for the qualifying session, please do yourself a favor. Open up another tab. I know you can do it. And go down and check out those other sponsors that have come on board. They're putting their money on the line for a brand new series this season. They're helping us out and helping out the sim racing genre in general. So if you're interested in sim racing, interested in being part, please do check those sponsors out in the meantime. So 55 seconds left, and it looks like everyone but James Stacy is off the racetrack. It looks like they're all satisfied. Stacy in the 07 working his way around to try to finish this lap. Currently 23rd, last on the board.
Yeah, and actually to add on to your point about the incidents, definitely think this is going to be probably one of the biggest tracks for the incident limit, just due to the off tracks. And I'm speaking kind of from experience here. Again, these guys are probably, most of them are definitely better drivers than me. But yeah, I typically like to go off the track here and there, and just due to the nature of some of the corners, that typically most cars end up going there. And when you combine the fact that these guys are going to be racing each other, they're going to be pushing the limit constantly. We might see some guys reach the limit just purely on off tracks.
I think that's a distinct possibility. Now, the reason why I think there is a potential for you to be wrong there is we thought that was going to be the case at Circuit of the Americas, and everyone behaved out there. I don't know what was going on, but everyone was pretty much behaving and staying within the lines. I don't know if we're going to see that this week. There's a bit more natural barrier to keep you from going off track. Over the edge of the curb, it's just all gravel and sand, and that can be a big problem. So about 13 laps, if all is said and done exactly how we expect it to be. Again, 20 minutes this first race, about 1:40 a lap, but totals out to about 13. All right, predictions here, Finian. Who you got on your list? Who do you think's going to take this one home?
Honestly, I think Chris Henn, that lap, he was so confident in his lap, he didn't even bother to go back out there and try to even go faster. So I think he's got some really good pace here. I think he knows he's got some good pace here. And I like that confidence. I think I'm going to pick him.
Well, you know,
for winning this race.
I was going to disagree with you, but you picked the guy that I was going to pick, and the reason why is he mentioned earlier today on social media that he was really particularly excited about this race. And from racing Chris Henn in the past, I know he's extremely skilled at this specific racetrack. He's going to be a hard one to beat tonight, but don't count out DJ Alessandrini in that 91. He's leading the points by 21, and there's a reason why he's there. And it's not because he's always the fastest, but last week at COTA, a race fell into his hands after the leader blew a motor on the last lap. And especially heading down into some of these corners, turn 5 especially, there's a tendency to downshift early, and that is what expired the engine of one of Alessandrini's competitors last week and let him win that race. So there's a lot on the line tonight. Don't blow your motor out. 23 drivers are going to take the green flag, and I don't think Will Salisbury is going to make it, unfortunately. But there's that Porsche 911 safety car going to lead this field around for one pace lap. And then we'll go green for 20 minutes around WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Take a look at our conditions. I just want to see if they've really changed at all or fluctuated. And it looks like it's pretty much the same, Finian. 66 degrees Fahrenheit, 109 degrees track temp. And that track is only going to get warmer as the rubber gets laid down here. And we get more time on the racetrack. The friction and the heat and all the rubber being laid down is going to bring that temperature up a little bit. Wind 8 miles an hour. Clear skies, a beautiful simulated day for racing. And the field rolls off for their timed pace lap. Again, my name is Kyle Heyer alongside Finian DeCuna, and Jarrett Mackey is with us tonight as well. And in just a moment, he's going to jump over to the Race Steward channel with Ryan Cobb, who is our race steward, and he'll be there tonight filling us on information of what goes down these opening couple laps. And hopefully we won't hear from him too much, because that'll mean people are getting in trouble. But we always like having Jarrett around, so he'll probably pop in and out as the night goes on.
That means a lot, Kyle.
All right. Well, we'll keep you around a little longer, I think, Jarrett. We like having you. All right. So, field rolling on their pace lap here. We've established the track temp is warmer than these drivers probably want to see it. The lap time's about 1:40. I saw a couple drivers in the 1:39 range, which means that there's still a lot of pace in these cars. These cars, these are the NC generation Miatas, which are a couple seconds slower a lap around here than the newer ND generation Global MX-5. So all things said and done, he's right around where we expect him to be pace-wise.
Yeah, and also harder to drive here, and I can say, especially compared to the Global MX-5, these are a lot harder to drive around this particular place than the newer cars, just because these cars, you really have to chuck them in the corner.
All right, so any first lap incidents we will go back and look at the end of the race. We don't want to pull you away from the action as it's happening live, so if there's an incident down in the first lap or so, we will continue broadcasting. We'll show you that incident at the end of the event, and then we're going to have a short break before we head into race number 2 around 9:35 p.m. So don't go anywhere after this race is complete. We have 30 more minutes of racing after race 1. The checkered flag flies there. So Chris Henn going to be leading the field down in that turquoise number 33 alongside Matt Busa, the Williams Esports driver. Pace car is off. They have to navigate one more corner before taking the green flag. 11 turns, about 13 laps on tap for this first race. 20 minutes for these 23 drivers. They're going for a chance to drive a real race car at the end of the season. And round 4 begins now. Green flag flies, and we're racing at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
We're on a slow crawl up over the hill, and they're about to go back down towards turn 1. You can see everyone bumper to bumper as they head off into the corner.
Everyone's really tight right now. Busa, there's DJ Alessandrini right behind him, field funneling down. And I see right behind where we're 2 or 3 wide, there's a push and a shove. That's the 24 of Thomas Bressi getting a hit. There's a car off track. It's the 42 of Borden. Out up front, though, it looks like Matt Busa has actually snuck around Chris Henn for the lead.
Yeah, indeed. Great move by the 34, able to keep it in there, get around Chris Henn, and he's going to have to be on the offensive now and get that spot back.
All right, so far so good. Just some slight contact, a dent to the rear bumper of the 24, but everyone clean so far. As we head back up towards the front, Busa's got that lead. Chris Henn was so confident walking in tonight. He's going to be aggressive to get that spot back, but you can also be a bit patient. This race isn't super short, so you have a little bit of time to size him up, but Alessandrini has gained a spot already. He's in third as the rest of the field works their way through turn 6.
Yeah, and everyone else pretty much single file except for a small battle between Thomas Bressi and that is
Steve Ficacci in the 51 down to the inside in the corkscrew, and a bit of a wiggle there, but so far so good. The field streaming their way down the several story drop, and the gravity pulls you down and the weight away. And so far so good. Everyone's managed to be pretty cordial so far. Oh, there's some contact there. Bressi goes around. He spins with the 13 of Stevens. Mitchell Peak gets involved. 2 of those cars off the course. And a collision there. It started with the 24 of Bressi. Mitchell Peak got involved as well as Jesse Stevens. It's not what Stevens needed. Let's go back and quickly take a gander at what caused this. I think I saw the 24 spinning. I think he comes off the curb here, Finian, and that's what got him in trouble.
Yeah, I saw him in the back of my corner of my eye. I saw him go off in the back, and I thought he was just going to get back on the track, and he did, but he ended up clipping the 30.
He actually got the 13 actually forced him off track prior to that contact. So I don't know how the stewards are going to rule that, but there was contact leading up to it, so it's not solely on the 24. And battle there between the 31 of Jonathan DeCoudre. That's Luke Pfeiffer in the 06 right in front of him.
I hate to cut you off, Kyle, but the incident involving cars 13 and 24 is under review by Race Stewart.
All right, thank you very much, Jarrett. And yeah, we figured that would probably be the case. I don't think we're going to see any action on that, Finian. I think the 13 forced the 24 off the course a little bit, and then that's what led to the 24 losing control. So I'd be surprised if there was action taken. If anything, I'd be really surprised if it was the 24 at fault there. So it's either the 13 or nothing for me, but not sure how you view that.
Yeah, I feel like it might, if anything, it might be on the 24, if anything, but we'll have to take a look at it once the decision is handed down.
Heading down the corkscrew for the second time now, Matt Busa continues to lead. He's actually pulled a 0.6 of a second gap over Chris Henn and DJ Alessandrini. And the rest of the field, bit of a gap there in the midfield as that wreck can kind of space some people out. And I see an orange car back here that's getting pressure from somebody. And I think, is that... might be Mark Snodgrass. He's in the 67. So yes, that is Snodgrass and James Stacy chasing him down from behind. A couple tufts of dirt flying through the air there. A couple dirt clods flying. But no harm, no foul. First couple laps relatively clean other than that first incident. 16 minutes to go.
Yeah, I was expecting something in turn 1, but these guys were very civilized through that corner, so keeping it nice and tidy. And yeah, other than that incident, whoa, Busa got a clip of a curb. He got a little bit sideways off the corner.
Yeah, that's actually something you have to pay attention to. It's right on board with Matt Busa here. Those red Apex anti-cut curbs on the inside, you don't want to hit those, Finian. They will launch your car in the air. Maybe in the slower corner you can use them to help turn. But look at Busa. He's actually cutting the corner so much that he's actually kind of straddling the curb and preventing his car from jumping up in the air, which is something that the fast drivers do, and he is very fast right now. Jonathan White, Samuel Scott, I think they were fighting for a second. Yes, for 11th place, the 22 and 98. I think Scott's got some, or excuse me, White has some damage on the nose of that car, and so does Scott for that matter.
Yeah, and Scott trying to hold off Schwenke as he goes on through to get that spot. And actually, here comes Zenoa Wilson now trying to get up a spot. So Scott is falling back right now.
And looks like Zenoa Wilson's going to kind of back out of a scare. Oh, it gets hit from behind. Some contact there with the 30. And that's Jimmy Hume in the 30 car. And there was some light contact out of the corner, but That was just a hurry up, let's go kind of situation after he slowed down to avoid that collision in the center of the corner. Back up for second, though, Chris Henn getting some pressure from DJ Alessandrini, and right behind, look who's coming, Robert Hartley in the 0-3.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see pretty much the entire top 5 is not surprising at all. Some of the fastest guys in this series. But yeah, Chris Henn starting to lose boost just a little bit every single lap. We'll see as they come across the line this time by. Oh, and actually Henn was a little bit faster.
Now it's pretty close. It's almost even, the paces of these front 2 drivers right now. And I see just behind, there's Luke Pfeiffer all over Michael Borden. This will be for a spot for 6th. With about 15 minutes left. We're 5 minutes in. We've had one major incident so far. A couple bumps and bruises here and there, but field stretching themselves out and just getting into race pace. You see, there's the 42 jumping one of those curbs that we just talked about, Finian, and it can be pretty upsetting, but these cars, their suspension's relatively soft. They can handle quite a bit of a beating, and sometimes it's quicker to take the curb.
Yeah, it definitely is, but again, you gotta take that with a grain of salt, though, because if you can definitely damage your suspension going off there, and even worse, you can just get thrown off the track.
So, you see, that's Travis Schwenke in the number 16. He's following Jonathan White, who's got that damage. Samuel Scott behind him also has damage on the nose of that car from a couple bumps and bangs in the opening couple laps. But for the top spot, Matt Busa is going to lead him down into the corkscrew for lap number 4. And Chris Henn is closed up to the rear bumper of that 34 machine out in front. That gap has kind of stabilized at half a second, and it hasn't grown since lap number 2.
A quick update on the incident involving cars, the number 13 car of Jesse Stevens, 24 of Thomas Bressie. It has been called no action. There was a very small debate if the 13 car forced the 24 car off, and it was 50-50 on both sides. So
all right.
No penalty for the 24 or 13.
All right, perfect, Jared. Thank you for the update. And yeah, I think that's the right call there. I think opening laps, it's getting a little pushy, shovey, and yeah, the 13 used up the 24, and the 24 rejoined. It was a little bit messy there, but I agree with the no action there on a first lap incident. I don't think there was anything malicious there. Just a racing incident for me.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree with you there. Speaking of Bressie, he's all the way back now, fighting for 19th, I believe.
Yeah, 19th place for the 24, and it's got some damage. I don't know how bad it is, but it doesn't look visually all that bad, but he sure could have knocked out some suspension components with the way he knocked into the 13. And there is Mark Snodgrass in the 67, and looks like that is the 07 of James Stacy that has just gone around him. All right, let's jump back up to the top spot, and you're going to see that lead continues to be about 0.4 of a second. And Busa drags a wheel off course in turn number 5. That's the corner that these guys just went through. That's where we thought we might see some engine failures with people downshifting too early. It's so easy to downshift a couple seconds before you really should and over-rev that motor. And Chris Henn diving off into the corkscrew now, closing in on the 34 through this section. And from Coram, New York, a 6,100 iRating. And has time trial and HPDE experience in the real world. And I'm sure some of that's probably done around here. I'm not sure. I don't think he's not local from Coram, New York, but I have a feeling he's had some experience around here if he's this good in the sim.
He might, and wow, really gained a lot of time through those last 2 corners, and he's really closed in. Once we get the lap times, he's been closing in the last few laps a little bit more each time. He's breaking away from DJ Alessandrini.
Last time through, a 39.745 for Matt Busa and a 39.633 for Chris Henn. So a 10th quicker by that 33 car in second place. So he definitely has something going on. Meanwhile, for 6th, Luke Pfeiffer and Michael Borden, I think they've traded spots, but the battle still rages on. 2 tenths separating them. That's about a half a car length.
Yeah, they're egging at each other, and soon I feel like this is going to be a battle between Hartley and Alessandrini for 3rd place. They're getting close to each other.
Now, Robert Hartley is working his way through the field in that 0-3. He's won a couple races this season, was a threat to win at Circuit of the Americas a race ago, and tonight doesn't look like he's quite got the pace to win the thing, but he's awful close to the front and battling DJ Alessandrini, the points leader. And I think that's what's important tonight, Finian, is keep that leading 91 car down on the grid. Don't let him win another one, because he will extend his points lead even farther the more he wins. He makes a mistake in 6. Here comes Hartley to the inside.
Yeah, Hartley took advantage of that. He might even have him here before the corner, and he does.
Robert Hartley up to 3rd place. He's going to set his sights on Chris Henn. And we'll head on back to a battle for 15th That's the 84 of Zenoa Wilson and the 30 of Jimmy Hume. They just traded spots, and the 30 is going to come back to the inside up the hill. And this is just so stressful on these little motors going up this climb, barely gaining miles an hour. Wow, look at the 13. Jesse Stevens down to the inside of Zenoa Wilson. He is on a mission.
Yeah, that corner right there is stressful on the driver as you see these guys try to sort it out. Here comes Jesse Stevens looking to the outside of the 30.
Now going to try to cross him over through turns 9 and 10. You got to set yourself up for this to do it right. And here he comes from the outside down to the apex. He has to leave a bit of room. Whoa, the 30 car slides over on his nose on exit. Down into turn 11, onto the binders. Who's going to get there first? The 30 does, but Stevens going to try to cross him over here, and he does. Can he get the run? It's going to be a drag race down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have a run. He's not going to have him at the line. Would potentially have him by turn 1, though.
Side by side, the 13's got the preferred line through turn number 1. They're going to head down to the heavy braking zone for turn 2, and this is where I imagine Stevens will get the advantage. And he gets that spot back. So after an early collision on lap number 1, Stevens clawing his way back through the grid. Thomas Bresci, who's also involved down in 24th. Mitchell Peak in the 23 car is down 4 laps. I think he's going to be retired for this event, Finney.
Yeah, and actually, I'm just kind of looking at you know, how much mobility has gone around. Not many guys have moved around from a lot of spots unless they were involved in incidents. The only guys that actually moved up quite a bit of spots is Travis Schwenke and Samuel Scott. They both moved up 5 spots from where they started.
I think everyone qualified pretty much where they should be running, but Chris Henn, he wants this lead back, Finney, and he continues to run pretty much on pace with Matt Busa, but you got to be better than the same to get around the leader here. There's not a lot of passing opportunities. You're going to have to force the issue. We're past halfway in this race. About 8.5 minutes left. It's a 20-minute event, and Matt Busa has led every lap so far.
Oh, Chris Henn just blew a motor.
No, down into turn 11. Chris Henn blows the motor, and we talked about this prior to the event. That's all it takes is one downshift, and the motor's gone in that 33. Wow. Well, let's ride on board with them and listen. And potentially one of the favorites to win this race, Finian. It all goes away so quickly.
Yeah, I just was riding on board with him for a second, just trying to look at his jump with Busa that he's managing, and then bam, there went the engine in the final corner and race over for the 33.
The motor blown for the number 33 car. That's not how he wanted to end this first race. Still an opportunity in race 2, but that just gave Matt Busa a 1.7 second lead, and you're not going to tell me that he's going to give that away in 7 minutes. Busa is going to be running away. The question is, can Robert Hartley catch him? And last time through, Hartley was a touch quicker.
Yeah, he's catching him. I don't think he will actually catch him, though. I think that these guys are very close in pace. Hartley's a little bit faster, but just not enough time left to do anything with it.
DJ Alessandrini in 3rd. Paul Darling in 4th in that number 55. And he's had a pretty quiet night so far. Ooh, a little bit of a slip on the curb. And oh, he blew his motor too! No!
Oh my, no.
And Paul Darling blows that engine out with a downshift as well. Oh. It's so frustrating to watch this happen, Finian, because these motors can be so fragile when you over-rev them. And just like the 33, about a lap ago, Paul Darling's night is over. Meanwhile, battle going on here. Michael Borden and Nathan Saxon. And just behind them, I think that's DeCouger and Focacci going at it.
Yeah, I cannot believe that. 2 drivers within the top 5 blowing an engine within a lap of each other. That's amazing.
Now that has made this battle that we're watching right now, actually just the one up the road a little bit, that's Borden and Saxon. That is now a battle for the top 5 spot. 5 laps to go here at Laguna Seca, 6 minutes left. And 2 of our top 5 runners have blown their motors, and that means that anybody can blow their motor, Finian. So how about Matt Busa? You're leading by 1.9 seconds, just don't throw the race away on your own.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just watch your just take an extra tenth of a second. Just be easy with the car. You got a gap here, and yeah, just don't give it up.
Yeah, I think really, you know, there's definitely speed to be had in downshifting quickly, but these cars, these are little 4-cylinder engines, and they make a lot of power for their size, and they're pretty much strung out the maximum they can do. So if you over-rev them, your engine's not going to last very long, and maybe it takes 1, maybe it takes 2, but as soon as you over-rev it, you can expect that engine to grenade pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to being a race car driver. You know, it's all about risk versus reward and a lot of things. The way you take certain corners, the way you shift, especially as we've seen here, and you just, you know, you always try to be on the edge. You try to get as much speed as possible. But again, you always have the risk.
Steve Ficacci just lost the spot because he cut the corkscrew fitting and had to give away the spot to Jonathan DeCousier. And DeCousier again from Smiths Falls, Ontario. And started 10th tonight, and he's running 7th at the moment, so a good run for him so far. All right, so that lead up front, Finian, not getting smaller. Matt Booth has kept that lead constant at 1.8 seconds. Hartley in second place trying to chase him down. Alessandrini left in the dust behind. And Borden and Saxon continue to fight. They're side by side down into turn number 1. Saxon trying to go the long way around.
Yeah, Saxon, he's going to try to do the over under here on the 42.
Oh, and he does the crossover here. 42 swings back to driver's left for turn 3, and Saxon's going to squeeze on through and move him up inside the top 5.
Yeah, great battle right there between these guys. These guys have been not able to get separated from each other, and a lot at stake here. Here's the top 5 for one of these guys.
Jonathan White inside the top 10 with the damage on that race car. That's a pretty incredible feat with about 4 laps left in this race. It could be less than that, Finn. We have to keep that in mind, too. We could have less than 4 laps if the leader is at the right speed and will cross the line a little bit earlier than predicted. So we'll keep an eye on that, but at the moment it's still Busa by 1.7 seconds, and Hartley has not been able to eat into that lead very much, if at all. Riding on board now, Robert Hartley, as he tries to chase down that leader. And this is the situation where if you're Hartley, you have to practice a lot of patience, because you can't go after Busa with everything you got and make a mistake like we saw the 33 and 55 do. You have to be patient. Oh, you see him revving up pretty high there on the downshifts, Finney. You got to be careful. Don't blow your motor out.
Yeah, definitely don't want to blow motor, especially at this stage in the race.
Jack Sanchez and Jesse Stevens, they're battling through turn number 9 and 10. Sanchez in 11th, Stevens, in 12th, Stevens in 13th. Remember, Stevens was involved in that first lap collision, and he's going to take a look down to the inside and the hairpin. And he'll squeeze on through, and on he goes. We haven't heard a whole lot from Jarrett Finian. A pretty clean race other than that first collision. I don't think we've seen any other car-to-car contact.
Yeah, I think, again, a lot of that's due to, a lot of the people getting separated from that contact. This separation in general, pretty much playing out as I was predicting, and just guys getting spread out just due to the nature of this track.
All right, last time through, Hartley was 0.2 of a second quicker than Matt Busa, and he was able to close in that 0.2 and bring the gap down to 1.5 seconds, but it's going to have to be more than that if he wants to catch that 34.
Yeah, he's going to have to be taking out almost a second to try to get back up to Busa. It's, I think, a little too late, and at this point, it's a matter of bringing that car home in one piece.
DJ Alessandrini running a solid third place, and Finian, for a driver like DJ, on the nights that you can't win or there's drivers that are going to beat you, well, the next best thing is to finish inside the top 5 without any incidents and just keep racking up those points, because he's beating a lot of the people that he's fighting in points, and a third place finish is as good as a win in that regard.
Yeah, as they come around through this final corner here, I think it might be white flag in the air. It's I'm looking at 1:45 left as Boost is rounding the final corner.
Yeah, let's see. So I got 1:52 on my end here. Okay, now it's 1:45. Let's see as he comes across the line what it's going to be. It's going to be awful close. It might be white flag. Ooh, it's going to be awful close here, Finney. Let's see what happens. This could be the end of the race, 1 lap from now. And it's just ticked over. The 2 to go, it says. But Busa, I think all Busa has to do is slow down just a hair, and he'd get it. So we're going to assume that this is going to be white flag, and Robert Hartley closed in 1.4 seconds, but not going to be enough here unless Busa makes a mistake. And how about this? This is domination. Remember at VIR a couple months ago when we started this venture, he didn't know the racetrack at all, had never driven it before, and he was so close to winning one of those things. And then at Summit Point got taken out, and at Circuit of the Americas got wrecked the first lap in race number 1, and I don't believe came in for race number 2. So it's been a kind of a rough start to the season for the 34, but he's got a lot of pace in that Williams Esports machine, and he climbs the hill for what we assume to be the final time. And this will be, I believe it'll be, how many victories is it? Second victory? He did 1-1. Was it where did he win? At VIR?
We'll check that.
I think it was. But coming down through turns number 9 and 10, 24 seconds left. If he gets to the line before the timer ticks to 0, we will get one more lap. But we imagine with 15 seconds left that it's going to be checkered flag in the air. So out of turn 11, Matt Busa, the Williams Esports driver in that bright magenta SPEC MX-5. 5 seconds to the line. Here he comes on through. It should be the checkers. Checkered flag waves. Matt Busa goes to victory lane in round number 4.
Yeah, we win number 2, got his first win of the season at Summit Point.
Oh, Summit Point. He rebounded in race number 2, I believe it was. Robert Hartley in for 2nd place. Alessandrini 3rd. Pfeiffer 4th. Saxon 5th. Michael Borden 6th. DeCousier 7th. Steve Ficacci in 8th. Jonathan White in 9th. Travis Schwenke gets himself inside the top 10. How about Busa, Finney? That is domination. And I imagine race number 2 is going to look a lot like that if he gets a decent starting spot.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to be vying for doing that. He might end up getting 2nd place to Chris Henn again. Again, we'll have to see. And he did a great job. Yeah, as soon as he got past him through the first few corners, never looked back.
All right, let's take a look at our race results here. And of course, you see Matt Busa at the top of the board, Robert Hartley in 2nd place there. And then we let the rest of these scroll on through. But Thomas Bresci, a disappointing 16th place for him, Finian, after that lap 1 incident. Going to try to rebound, but that's severely going to hurt his points effort that he had just started turning back around. Noah Wilson inside the top 15, a good result for him.
Yeah.
Sam Scott in 11th. Paul Darling all the way down in 21st. Chris Henn, a disappointing 22nd. Not the round that he wanted, but he's got another opportunity to win one, Finian, and coming up in just about 15 to 20 minutes. He's going to be able to go at it and try to win one after blowing his motor down in turn number 11.
Yeah, I can bet you in race number 2 he's going to be a lot more careful about his shifts to make sure he doesn't repeat that.
All right, well, we're going to jump out of here and head over to race number 2, which is going up in just a minute, so don't go anywhere. Here's a word from our sponsor, RICMOTech. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine and Sim TV and the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge, round number 4. The first race was won by Matt Busa of Williams Esports. We're going to talk to him after the conclusion of race number 2, but right now, practice underway for the second event of the night. We take a look at our format once again. 20 minutes in race number 1, that is already done and complete. Race number 2 coming up in about 15 minutes. Actually, a little bit longer than that. It's going to be a 30-minute sprint race. So a bit longer. Finian, the 33 car of Chris Henn blew his motor in race number 1, looking for redemption in race 2.
Yeah, him and Boulder both blew their motors within a lap of each other, and we're both running very well inside the top 5 until that disaster struck for them. So yeah, these guys definitely going to be looking for more in this race, and I can imagine they're going to be a lot more careful. My curiosity though is if they are going to be more careful, will they be slower, not being as aggressive on their shifts? Not
really sure that's going to pan out, but we do have Jarrett Mackey back in here. And, well, Jarrett, we banished you to the land of the Stewards channel, and nothing really happened. So we thought we'd drag you back in here to put you to work a little bit, because you only had one incident to talk about. So last race was relatively calm, cool, and collected. What do you think race 2 is going to be like? Are we going to see more of the same?
Firstly, I appreciate you guys letting me out of the dungeon. It was a fun time in there, and I have no complaints, but yeah, it was really a clean race. A lot cleaner than we all thought it would probably be. Nothing really happened in the corkscrew, and the only incident that took place was just after the corkscrew, and that was really unexpected. And I hope the second race goes the same way, and honestly, I can see it going the same way. These are very talented drivers who know the importance of keeping their car clean.
We look right now at the practice, and let's take a look at the timing sheet right now. And Finian, I'm looking at the top of it, and I see DJ Alessandrini right back up there. Looked like he was P3 in race number 1. Do you think he can do any better in race number 2?
I think he definitely can. He was right up there with these guys, and again, I think really the start seems to be probably the best place that you're gonna make your passes. So if he can take advantage on the start here and move up some spots, I think he's definitely got a shot. All right,
so as we look forward to race number 2. The 30 minutes, Finian, how is that going to change your strategy in terms of where you're going to put your car, how fast you're going to make moves, and how much pressure to put on the guy in front of you? Are you any more patient in race number 2?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no, because these guys do have a lot more time, but yeah, I think, if anything, the aggression's going to step up more on the beginning laps and then kind of taper off towards the end. I think these guys are especially going to realize that when everyone's right next to each other, that's when you're going to gain a lot of these spots here. And while you necessarily can't ruin the race on lap 1, you can definitely not get enough spots to move yourself up there. So I'm kind of curious if we might see aggression step up in that way.
Okay, well, a couple cars pulling off the racetrack here, and we have qualifying coming up after practice here in a moment. But we want to take another moment to thank our sponsors that have come on board. And those sponsors are LevelUp Racing School, WeatherTech, Winding Road Racing, and the new one this time around, which, forgive me for getting the name off the top of my head, it's not ingrained in my soul like the other ones have been so far. But Paradigm Shift, that's the one I'm looking for. And we'll give a little shout out to Paradigm again for coming on board, a new sponsor for the rest of the season, and I'll do my little read again. Well, they're based in Atlanta, Georgia, Finian, and they're a driver development company that's moving away from their traditional driving instruction, aims to bring racers a more up-to-date approach. And their best-selling Science of Speed book series, Paradigm Shift's teaching philosophy is described as a physics-based approach. Defining the ideal racing line has then been distilled into an optimal but intuitive way of driving a race car. And on their website, you can find detailed track notes for many well-known tracks in North America and Europe. And let me tell you, Finian, I think that's one of the things that's so interesting about racing in the 21st century is all the technology and the ways that you can analyze not only yourself, but your competitions and your competitors. So, you know, a group like Paradigm Shift is the place to go if you want to take a more analytical and more scientific approach rather than the more traditional, you know, by feel approach. I think that's really cool. I think it's admirable, and it's really cool to have those guys on board with us.
Yeah, definitely, especially considering how much more reliant on computers. It's taken over the racing world, really, pretty much, as far as analytics are concerned. They got definitely great sponsor to bring on board.
Well, I'm sure, Jarrett, you had your technological issues with your hard drive the last couple weeks. I'm sure, you know, some people love technology, some people hate it, and you were one of the guys that hated it for a while, but glad to have you back here. It's been a while since I've talked to you personally, but, you know, so far you're relatively new to the iRacing streaming world, and obviously this is a really cool group to be part of because we're awesome. but also because of SPEC MX-5. So far this season, we've seen a lot of great racing, but has anything stood out to you so far in terms of the competition level? Are you surprised at how few or how many wrecks have we had? Are you surprised at the level of competition? What's been the one big takeaway so far watching the series so far this year?
I will say the takeaway from that sentence was you talking about how cool you were and how cool we are, and I really appreciated that. The one thing I will say is, like, these drivers, it is online, it is sim racing, but it is professional, real racing, and that's the thing. These people are going for it, and like you said, at the end of the season, if they do well, there's real prizes waiting for them. So I've been impressed with that, and I've been impressed with how close everything has been. You know, it was really clean this first race. And we will see it probably again this second race. And it's real racing. It's competitive. It's on the edge. It's fun to watch. Absolutely. And one thing, Finian, I just saw this the other day, is that, so these race cars are SPEC MX-5 NC Miatas. So they're I think they're 2006 to 2014, something, 2015, something like that. Right. That's the generation of Miata that we're working with here. Roll cage, some suspension tuning, but for the most part, other than that, the performance is relatively stock, and they're really great race cars. They're relatively inexpensive, and I do know that some of this series that we're running right now in iRacing is based off the real-world SPEC MX-5 Challenge series, based out of Austin, Texas, and they are actually selling some of these race cars. I think they're moving on to a second-generation vehicle, from my understanding. I don't know exactly where they're selling them, but if you want an NC Miata like this, I'm sure you can get a mega deal.
I can pull it up here so someone post something.
All right, well, that works out great. Finian can post a link in the YouTube chat, and if you're interested, these race cars are really affordable. I know that even the newer ND generation Miatas, the global MX-5 versions, I believe you can have them somewhere well under 100 grand. I think closer to 80 for a fully spec'd. It might even be less than that. Fully spec'd race car ready to go, which is really cool. And SPEC MX-5, their whole business strategy is to have you just come and basically pay up front for the season, and then you just show up at the racetrack and drive the car, and everything else is taken care of, and that's really cool. So if you're interested in that, you can check out SpecMX5.com and their website to if you're interested in doing this for real. If you're interested in the iRacing service, head over to iRacing.com and do it here with us next season, hopefully. But Jared, I know you own an MX-5. You want to tell us a little bit about yours?
Yeah, as the resident Miata owner of the current broadcast, I own a 1990 Mazda MX-5. I spent all my money on it, and my parents still resent me for buying it. But I'm slowly turning it into a race car, and I'm surprised at how cheap it is. There's a lot of safety thing. Most of the money you're going to put into making a Miata into a race car is a safety thing. You mentioned the roll cage. You need a seat that can support a 5-point harness, all these things. But to make it the car itself into it, you really don't need that much stock from the base car. And it's truly, you're driving down the road, it feels like a race car. The suspension's perfect. You know, it's jumpy, it's quick, and it's such a fun car to drive.
Yeah, the Miata is really the classic front engine rear wheel drive sports car. And my uncle's got a 91, and it's still to this day the best car I've ever driven. And they've only gotten better since then. But yeah, they're great bases for pretty much anything you want to do. I actually saw on another YouTube channel about a year ago that there's actually a place that will swap in an LS V8 into the ND generation Miata. I think the company's called Flying Miata. And they'll swap in a V8 engine. And if you want to see a real rocket ship, don't go to NASA, don't go to Elon Musk. Go to the Flying Miata and check out their products, because, oh my goodness, a Miata with a 4-cylinder is fun. A Miata with a V8 is mental, and I would love to drive one of those. All right, qualifying underway here for race number 2. 15 minutes on the board, and the ticker is going to scroll across the top of your screen. And Finian, we saw how important your starting position was last time. The pole sitter didn't win the race, but the second place guy did, and I think that says a lot about where he should be starting tonight.
You can also just point out, to post that link down in the chat for anyone interested in buying a car.
Excellent. I don't know if that's through a third party or not, but I do know that those cars are for sale, and that it will benefit whoever's selling them to have people take a look at that.
Yeah, I believe from that link there are 7 posted, 7 available.
Yeah,
cars for sale.
Which makes sense. So that's about, yeah, I think they're working on some new generation car or something. But exciting times for SPEC MX-5, and I want to give a special thank you to Tom Martin, the CEO of SPEC MX-5 and Winding Road, for just allowing us to be on his channel. Remember, we don't own this channel. We're not part of Winding Road, and I should have made our disclaimer earlier that all of the opinions that we say are our own. and not representative of SPEC MX-5 or Winding Road. But they have allowed us to come here and do this and promote their series and the sponsors that we're working with for 2019 and hopefully beyond. So we want to give a special thank you to Tom and to everybody and Luciana from SPEC MX-5 for helping us out and from for helping us facilitate this, because we wouldn't be here without them. And in the year that we've been doing the sim racing broadcasting thing, it's been an absolute pleasure to be working with a group like SPEC MX-5 and Winding Road. They've been an absolute blast to work for. And we do a lot of other streaming just like this on our very own YouTube channel, and the link is at the bottom of this graphic, www.youtube.com/simtv broadcasting, if you want to watch more iRacing sim racing on a daily basis, almost. I think this week we had 7 broadcasts, but next week I think we're 4 or 5. But we're always busy. The whole year we're booked up for 2019. Very exciting time, Finney, and I know Jarrett will be with us for a couple more of those in the future. So it's going to be a good season.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to just the rest of this season in general, because this is going to end, I think, I forgot what date exactly, but it's a while from now. It's a couple months down the line.
Yeah, back in the fall.
In October.
Yep. So there's a lot of racing between now and then, and if you want more of this and more than just once a month, head on over to our channel and check it out. We got a couple road series. We got Ferrari Challenge that is tomorrow night. We have some NASCAR-based leagues that run on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So a lot of NASCAR going on, and then Wednesdays is reserved for this series as well as the DC Region SCCA. And then Ferrari Challenge again, as I mentioned. So lots of cool stuff over there. And hopefully we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers to enable a couple fun features, but we're stuck at 760. So if you're not subscribed to us over there, please go ahead and do that. And come right back here to watch race number 2. 11 minutes until race begins. And look who's at the top of the board again, Matt Busa.
Yep, not surprised at that. I was looking at his time, and he's 0.3 of a second quicker than Chris Henn, who just put his first time down again. Still got some time left to go in qualifying. We saw, again, qualifying track out a little bit faster towards the end of it, so we'll see these guys put some times down and probably continue so until the checker flag's out.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our conditions out here for the second qualifying session. A bit warmer than they were before, 112 degrees Fahrenheit. Jarrett, hot track temps always affect the race car, but at Laguna Seca, it's California out here. The track's full of dust as well, so grip is something these drivers are fighting for. And also staying off the curbs is important. So in race number 2, what's your plan? I mean, are you going to be conservative if you're in the race car, or are you going to go for it?
I think it's going to be a mix of both. The people who finished well in the last race and got good points, they kind of can afford to be a little bit more conservative, but those people, I will mention Paul Darling in particular, who blew his engine from the top 5 spot last race. He will want to push the issue and try to make up for the blown motor and the bad finish they had in the first race.
Absolutely. So those two blown motors for the 55 and 33, they're looking to not do that again. And another driver who wants a redo, Finian, is Mitchell Peak, who was involved in that lap 1 collision with Thomas Bresci and Jesse Stevens, and ended up finishing very far down the order. I believe was the only DNF in that first race, and he's on his qualifying effort right now.
Yeah, I think we'll come back across the line. We'll see where he racks up. We go 140.7, good enough for 8th place at the moment.
And Sonoma Wilson managed to top 15. He's currently 10th right now in that brightly colored number 84. He's going to pull to a stop. Jonathan White had some damage on his race car. He's looking to improve his qualifying effort. Currently 16th place.
Yeah, while we were talking, Hartley was able to jump to the top of the time sheet. Actually, he's coming out of the final turn now. We'll see if he improves.
And Hartley comes across the line. He's towing the 16 car, and that's is Travis Schwenke right behind him. And Hartley comes across the line, a 141.894. He currently sits at the top of the board, though, Fidian. I think you mentioned that. And Busa, 73 thousandths of a second behind, and right back out onto the racetrack. Like a ticking clock, he's going to be right back out there and try to get his top spot back.
And Chris Henn is on the back half of the course now. Through the corkscrew he comes, and waiting on him to improve. One of the started on pole in the last race here. We'll see if he can repeat the effort.
Now, one thing I want to ask Jared is, you say you're working on your MX-5 for racing purposes or autocross or whatever the deal may be, but manual transmission, I suppose. I think I'm correct in that, right?
Yeah, manual's the way to go. It's more fun, and it feels like more of a race car driver. I'm at a red light, and I'm thinking, you know what? I could take off from here right now, and most times I do. So that's why I got to do my clutch right now, honestly. So.
Well, absolutely. So speaking of that, I want to talk to you about the transmissions in general, and because that's what we saw an issue with Chris Henn and the 55 Apollo Darling. They blew their motor out, and it was because of an early downshift. Now, I just heard someone else blow it right now coming out of the pits, I think. So we talked about transmissions and how fragile they are. In terms of, are you planning any other upgrades to your transmission other than doing a new clutch?
It depends. My bank account is kind of dictating that right now. So if anyone would like to donate money to my GoFundMe, I'd really appreciate that. But no, I mean, you know, you'll hear a lot of Miata owners, say that their car is somewhat indestructible. Miata parts are very reliable, and the cars themselves are reliable. So there's really no need for it right now for what I'm using it for. But when I start to think about going racing and actually get closer to doing so, I'll probably upgrade my transmission or get a performance or racing clutch or something of that sort.
I was gonna say, I was kind of making a joke here that, in the real world, you got your bank account to worry about. Well, in iRacing, you don't have to worry about your bank account because you can't buy better parts for your car. All you can do is set it up a little bit differently. But here in this series, we use fixed setups, so everything is completely identical between cars. And these setups are provided by John D. Allen, who is a past competitor in the SPEC MX-5 Challenge series in the real world, has also been in the Global MX-5 series. But yeah, so everyone's running the same exact setup here, but you can't throw money at it in iRacing. You're just gonna, it's all skill-based, which is why it's so exciting to watch these guys go at it. You can really tell who the cream of the crop is and about the iRacing service. If you're interested in becoming a part of it, head over to iRacing.com, and usually 3-month subscriptions are definitely worth your try. Put some time into it and decide whether or not you like it, but if you're interested in watching it, I guarantee you'll be even more interested in racing it.
I do want to say right now, speaking of cream of the crop, Robert Hartley has taken the fast time in qualifying, putting down a 1:39.367, so nearly a tenth of a second faster than Matt Booster, who's now fallen to second place.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hartley has been one of these guys that's been absolutely ridiculously quick so far this season. Not quite as good as DJ Alessandrini in recent weeks, but he's certainly giving him a show this week, and is finished in front of Alessandrini in race number 1. They're going to try to do it again in race 2.
Yeah, Booster just came back out on the track, hasn't been able to improve on Hartley's time, so here he is back out for potentially his final run here. Chris Henn's on a lap at the moment, and so is Hartley. So almost everyone actually, I think, is on the track right now putting down a time.
Yeah, I think everyone is, with the exception of Brian Shabelski in the 12, who we didn't talk about a whole lot, and here he comes now in the 12 machine. We didn't talk about him at all in race number 1, didn't have a very spectacular race, but always a chance to turn it around in race number 2. And we mentioned Matt Busa. He's got another car in tow. That's the 41 of Nathan Saxon, getting a draft off of him. You can just hear these cars lugging their engines up the hill. Well, Miatas are known for being a lot of things, but fast in a straight line is not necessarily one of them. But these things get up pretty fast when you're in a draft fitting over 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I think that's really usually where their speed kind of shines, especially in the draft. But I'm looking at Robert Hartley coming across the line, not able to improve on his time. And Chris Henn will come across the line, and no time put down, so he's starting a lap.
4.5 minutes left in qualifying, then we'll start race number 2. You see a couple drivers off course here. One of those being Matt Busa. I think he's winding up for a fast lap here.
I'm kind of surprised that Henn hasn't broken onto the front row yet. I'm kind of surprised he's back in third.
I think he's just biding his time here. He runs out wide there, and that's going to be an invalid lap. But, we didn't see the pole sitter win the last race, so maybe he's just trying to do himself a favor and not start up front, not curse himself like that. All right, I do want to ask Jarrett one thing. We saw an incident between Jesse Stevens and the 24 of Thomas Bresci. Now, no action was called there, Jarrett, but I think in the drivers' minds, I'm sure they both think the other was at fault. Now, how do you approach race number 2 with a little bit of a grudge on your side?
Well, luckily that incident was on lap 1, so they had the better part of 20 minutes to calm down and kind of recollect themselves, and I think they did just that. We see Thomas Bresci right now in 23rd place, so that's not too great. He'll want to improve on that. Jesse Steven himself, though, he's up in 5th place. So I think both drivers, hopefully they'll realize that they got a chance to watch it back, that it was kind of a 50-50 in both scenario. There was a long conversation in the race steward chat about that incident, but they decided that, the 13 could have left him more room, but also the 24 didn't really have to push the issue. So no action was taken, like you mentioned. But like I said, they had a long time to kind of recollect themselves, and now it's a clean slate as far as they're concerned. And hopefully no one does anything crazy to try to, get back at someone or do something like that.
Vinny, and I'm taking a look at the gaps between drivers, and most of the gaps are less than 1/10 of a second. And from first down to 18th place is 2 seconds. That is remarkably close around a racetrack that's 2.4 miles long.
Yeah, Matt Busa just jumped to the top of the board. 139.2 will overtake Robert Hartley.
So Matt Busa, there he goes to the top of the board. You're right, a 139.2, and that's by 98 thousandths of a second. So we continue to see that trend of how close everyone is. But that just look at this. I mean, the top two within 1/10 of a second, and then Chris Henn is 4/10 back from that. So even just there, the top two are in a league of their own, Busa and Hartley.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm kind of more surprised that Henn hasn't been able to pick up the pace, although he's really pushing the issue here, running very close to getting an off track here, and again, that invalidates your lap time, so you can't afford to do that.
Heading down through the corkscrew at the moment, and he goes down the hill.
Yeah, and when he comes across the line, he's going to have one more lap to put in if he doesn't get a lap time in this time around to improve.
He's loading. Look at the suspension loading up here, Finian. It's pretty wild to watch. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm just saying that he's running out of time here, so he comes to the line here. Not sure how this lap's gonna play out.
And a lot of these things, I'm sure Jarrett can attest to this, driving these cars around is there's a lot of big, heavier cars that it's all about throttle control. These things, it's just getting the car pointed and just smashing that gas to the floor, because with a little acceleration that you got, it's a momentum car. You have to drive it like that.
Yeah, and Ken was not able to put in a time, so he's got one more lap to try to improve. Otherwise, he's going to be starting for potentially 3rd place.
The double apexes turns 2 and 3, and heading through the double right-hander complex now, and balancing the car on the edge, drifts out over the edge of the course, drops a wheel, but that's fair game. You just can't get the center line over the edge of the curb. And so far, he's been behaving on this lap. Oh, that might have been it, though. That was awful close. We're right on board here on the gyro cam as we head up the hill. Cool racing suit Chris Henn got on. He's got checkered flags all the way down inside of the arms and legs. Oh, and that's definitely... Oh, man. If he doesn't have an off-track yet, I don't know how he doesn't.
Yeah, he's been flirting with it quite a bit these last few laps. He hasn't put in another lap time other than the first time he put down.
I don't think the incident limit was an issue in the first race. I don't think it's going to be in the second race either. With how calm it was, very surprised by that.
Yeah, it was very calm. If anything...
It's a good thing, though.
It might... Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely not complaining about it.
So Chris Henn's going to round turn number 11. We're going to find out shortly if his lap counted. Got to keep the tires on the black stuff for this lap.
Yeah, Alessandrini jumps from 6th to 4th place.
Just like last time, the exact same pattern there for DJ Alessandrini. Across the line for Chris Henn, and I don't see a recorded time. So yeah, Chris Henn again off the racetrack, and that's going to be it. Checkered flag waves, so a 2-minute cooldown period begins.
Oh, here comes Hartley to the line.
Hartley had a really good lap going, but Nathan Saxon was a little bit ahead of him going into the corkscrew, and Nathan Saxon, is not the slowest guy out there. He's in 10th place, but he actually put it off to give space to Robert Hartley, who was unable to improve on his time.
So Matt Busa back at the top of the board. He's going to stay there, I think. He's going to come across the line. I don't know if this is a full lap or if he's going to try to get this... Oh, you see someone take a hard lick back there, but Busa across the line.
He improves by 0.02 of a second.
Yep, 139.268, so even better for Matt Busa. The winner from race number 1. Can he sweep both races, Jarrett? Do you think he's got the pace to do it?
I think he's got the pace. It's got to be if he has the mental stamina, rather, because, 2 races, people are going to want to go for it, and if he has to try to take that and battle it off.
All right, 55 seconds remaining in qualifying. There's 2 cars left out on track. Jimmy Hume and James Stacy, 18th and 19th at the moment. And I'm trying to spot them on the racetrack. I don't see where they are. Okay, I see one of them down in turn 5, the other one entering turn 3. So they're spaced out. I don't know if either of them are going to get back to the start-finish line. I don't think so.
Yeah, and again, I think if anything for Busa, the thing is the fact that now he's starting in first and he has the potential of getting past, similar to what happened to Henna on the start here. But if anything, it'll be Hartley on the outside of him. So kind of interesting how this is going to play out with a slightly different running order towards the front.
All right, track temp 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Qualifying is complete. Matt Busa on pole. So from winning one race to starting the next out front, he'll be starting first alongside Robert Hartley, Chris Henn, DJ Alessandrini, and Paul Darling. That's your top 5. Top right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see the sponsors for tonight's race. Winding Road Racing, LevelUp Racing School, WeatherTech, and the new sponsor here this week. And we want to thank everybody for coming on board. Once again, and a paradigm shift. The bright yellow logo, a very, very striking logo they have there, and they'll be adorning that top right of the screen throughout the night. Ticker going to turn off for a moment as we get ready to grid here, Finian. Let's take a look down at the start-finish line. We have about the same number of cars, 23, starting this race again. Predictions for this race? Do you think that that car out front, the Busa machine, is going to go to victory lane again?
I think there's a very strong chance. Again, just has got a lot of the pace, got a lot of consistency as well to run on the front here. Again, if anyone's going to take it from him, if the 34 makes a mistake, or if Hartley or one of the other guys behind him are able to take advantage of him.
So we're going to take a look at the field gridding up again. Last race, we only saw one car-to-car incident. We saw 2 drivers blow their motors, and then there was, on lap number 1, there was that 3-car issue between the 24 of Thomas Bressy, the 13 of Jesse Stevens, and the who was the other car involved there? 13, the 24, and the 21 of Mitchell Peak. Okay, all right, boys. This time a little bit longer race, 30 minutes through from start to finish, and that gives you 10 extra minutes from race number 1. So if you're Robert Hartley right now, you were pretty much on pace with Busa but couldn't reel him in, but now Finian, you're starting right next to him. What's the plan? I mean, are you going to be, we're going to worry about Chris Henn on that first lap? Or are you just going to try to be defensive, or are you going to go on the offensive and try to get around that 34 as quick as you can?
I imagine that Hartley's eyes are going to be squarely on that 34 car, just looking and see where he goes. And again, he saw that Busa was able to take advantage of Henn on the start and right from where Hartley is starting from. So if he plays it right, if he's able to stay side by side with the 34 going through turn 1, which is a left-hand turn, they're approaching a right-hand turn, and Hartley will be right there on the preferred line. Looking
back from the rear deck of the 34, you see that long line of race cars. Jared, I want to ask you, lap 1, turn 1, I mean, do you go 3 wide? Do you not go 3 wide? Is it too risky, or is it worth it?
Fortune favors the bold, you know, so if someone wants to make a bold choice and a bold decision going into turn number 1 in the very early stages of a 30-minute race, they're more than welcome to do so, but I think you do have to wait it out. You know, there's a lot of danger corners in Laguna Seca. As we mentioned so many times now, the corkscrew, anything can happen there. So I do think if you're going to make a move, making a really, really bold one in turn 1 isn't the greatest call, but I'm also not out there on the racetrack, so
did you come up with the Fortune bold thing?
It was in a movie, actually. Okay. I wish I could take credit for that.
I was going to say, I was like, that was a really nice line. Fortune favors
then, yes,
the bold.
I came up with it, yes.
There's the copyright strike we're waiting for. All right, field rolling onto the back straightaway now into turn 5, and this is where I thought we'd see the blown motors, Finian. I mean, you're in really 4th, heading to 5th gear, then you have to downshift 1, and to a lot of drivers, you know, they want to downshift right as they start braking, but a lot of drivers will, you know, shouldn't do that. You should let the car slow down more. And actually, I was talking to a couple people about Max Verstappen, the Formula 1 driver for Red Bull. If we look back at his iRacing tenuership, which he's been here for a little while, if you ever watch Max Verstappen in iRacing, he doesn't downshift right when he goes to the brakes. He actually brakes for a little while, and then right before a turn-in, he actually bangs through the gears real fast. Now, these cars are sticks, so you don't really have that quick of an option, but I think that would serve some of these drivers better tonight to not downshift right as they get on the brakes. You want to wait a little while, let the RPMs drop, and then shift so you don't damage the motor. All right, 30 minutes on the board. It's the 34 alongside the 03 of Robert Hartley. And then behind him, it's the 33 of Chris Henn on a redemptive run after blowing his motor in this very corner, turn number 11 in race 1. And rounding out that second row is DJ Alessandrini. And the 13 is right behind him as well, trying to recover from his incident in race number 1. Green flag flies, racing in race 2 at Laguna Seca.
Oh, wow. DJ Alessandrini up the middle, wasting absolutely no time. 3 wide for the lead.
Already out to a strong start. DJ Alessandrini wastes no time. Shoots to the middle. The 41 gets turned right in front of the field. More cars spinning, collected behind him. The 84, Sonoma Wilson, turned, cars barrel rolling in the background.
Oh, my.
Big mess down in turn number 1.
Oh, and more out of turn 1 as well.
Wow.
Jarrett, you might want to get back up in race control.
Yeah, Jarrett, you head off to race control. Update us on if anything happens there. We will look back at that incident at the end of the race. We don't want to pull away from the live action right now, because for the top spot, it's going to get spicy. Look at DJ Alessandrini. He's gotten passed again by the 34 of Busa. So Alessandrini falls back to second place. A big battle behind him. And Alessandrini goes for a look up for the top spot. Here he comes to the inside in turn 6.
Here he comes up the inside. It's a very tight spot. Busa's got to give way. He goes off into the sand, and it's going to be Alessandrini leading to the corkscrew.
Wow, incredible racing up at the top spot. Busa gets back to second place. Alessandrini with that strong 3-wide move. He moves his way into the lead on the opening lap, down through the corkscrew for the first time. The field streaming through here. I see some cars side by side. That's Bresci.
Oh, for the lead again, Busa, Alessandrini side by side.
Side by side for the lead. We'll take you there now. Busa to the outside, runs off course into the dirt, down to turn 11. Who's going to get there first? Door to door into the braking zone.
And they're still not done. Here comes Busa. Alessandrini going to try to do the crossover.
To the line, who's going to lead lap number 1? I think it's going to be Matt Busa on the number 34. He gets there first, will lead the lap number 1, but that does not tell the whole story of that lap, that's for sure. Alessandrini in second place, right on the bumper. Look at Busa defending all the way to the left. The 91 of Alessandrini heads back to the right. He's going to try to drive around the outside, but here comes Robert Hartley to the inside now.
Yeah, Alessandrini tried to outbrake the 34, overdrove the corner. Here comes Hartley now. He's going to hold second place.
Wow, and Hartley steals that spot away. So DJ Alessandrini's first lap was quite exciting, but he's back to where he started in that second row. There's Chris Henn waiting behind all of it. But now, does Robert Hartley have the pace to stay with Busa?
I don't know. Last time through, I mean, in the last race, remember, Hartley was a little bit faster than Busa over the course of the run, and here they are a lot closer, so we'll see what that 0-3 can do.
Heading up the hill now towards turn number 6. They were side by side the last time through here, but this time they're single filed out, half a second between Busa and Hartley. There was some argy-bargy between the 91 and 34 Finney. They kind of forced each other off track a few different times. I'm sure Busa might be a bit hot under that helmet, so if DJ Alessandrini gets back, I don't think he'll be given any favors.
The first turn, the start, is under review by race stewards, which is interesting because usually, you know, the stewards will say who is involved, car numbers, and all that. But since there were so many cars involved in the turn 1 incident, they just said the start. So we'll see if any penalties are given out and who they're given out to shortly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jared. And yeah, we will go back and watch that replay at the end of the race, so stick around for that. The 33 and 91 now battling for third. Alessandrini, he started out strong, Finian, but I think he's slipping. I don't know if he burned up his tires too quickly on that opening lap, but I'm sure they're pretty temperature sensitive right now.
Yeah, and I imagine also just kind of getting caught in behind the 0-3. I don't think his car is enjoying just being in behind another car. And here comes Chris Henn now trying to look to the inside of Alessandrini. Can't get it done, but Alessandrini still goes wide. It opens the door for the 33.
Yeah, he left the door open, but it wasn't quite a big enough hole for Chris Henn to get the car down into. And there's Jesse Stevens all over him from behind as well. Remember, Stevens was wrecked out in that lap 1 incident last race, so he's trying to claw his way back and to make up for lost time there. And the two leaders beginning to break away again, Busa and Hartley.
Yeah, last time through, Hartley was a tenth of a second faster than Busa. So we'll see if he can continue that pace up towards the 34.
I think it's important, and I always say this when there's a guy that's
33 and 91 side by side.
33 and 91. They were side by side for a moment, but Henn has to back out, and here's going to give 13 to Jesse Stevens an opportunity up to the run to the hill and the corkscrew. And looks like Stevens will get that spot easily. Now Hen drops back to 5th. All right, well, Matt Busa, every time I talk about someone that's been dominant all night, Finney, and I say you got to push the issue early, because once you get settled in, you start wearing off those tires, it's going to be very difficult to put pressure back on the 34. So he's got to get by him now and hold him off that way. I think that's a more effective way of running this race. We still have 25 minutes left. It's a long way around here at Laguna Seca, but he's got to get this done relatively quickly. You see Paul Darling right in the middle of a fight. He's got Jonathan DeCouger tucked in behind him, and he's following Chris Hennen at 33.
Yeah, how about DeCouger too? Started in 13th, but I think with all that mayhem that happened, he was able to gain a few spots, and here he is up with the leaders.
Not a scratch on that car, so he's done a great job picking his way through the mess as they head down to turn number 2. And Paul Darling he was inside the top 5 in race number 1 before he blew his motor on a quick downshift, and looking to not do the same thing again. But Jonathan DeCouger is all over his rear bumper through turn 3. I'm sure he'll have a run down into turn 5.
Some clarity with the first turn accident. The 51 car, Steve Fakachi, has been given a drive-through penalty for his incident with the 06. And coincidentally, the 06 car was given of Luke Pfeiffer a drive-through penalty due to a separate incident.
All right, thank you, Jarrett. So 2 drive-through penalties assessed. Surprised, Finney? I don't think I am for that one. I think that was a pretty big mess down there.
Oh, DeCouger, he goes off the track.
Yeah, he got really loose. Let's take a quick look at that. He was heading down into turn number 6 and got all out of shape and just drove off the course. And no harm, no foul, but adding up to those incidents that you want to keep low.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying earlier, yeah, I honestly kind of was a little bit surprised. I was expecting to be a little bit more tempered down compared to race 1, but yeah, a little hell broke loose in those first few corners, though.
Yeah, I think when everyone's so bunched up like that, it's just one mistake amplifies, and there's really nowhere for a lot of those drivers to go. So we have a bunch of retirements. Zanoa Wilson, Mitchell Peak, Jimmy Hume, James Stacy, all retired. I've got a feel for Mitchell Peak. 2 races in a row, just not his night.
Yeah, just not his night indeed. And hopefully best of luck for him next week.
Or next round,
Sorry,
rather.
next race. Yeah.
Where are we headed next, by the way? I don't even know what track we're going to next.
We'll find that out.
We
are going to Sonoma.
Oh, Sonoma. That's going to be a fun one. Tall curbs there for sure, too.
That's actually, yeah, it's actually very close on June 5th.
I see. Okay, so that's really only a couple weeks away. So Matt Busa and Robert Hartley continue to basically match each other's lap times. A 39.8 that Busa just ran to Hartley's 39.9. And half a second separates them, but Hartley's keeping him within range and able to put pressure on him, but Busa's a really tricky guy to pass.
And I'm just trying to look at their lap time. So Boost has been faster last time through. And if we look at their last few lap times, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just that last lap through, Boost was able to put a little bit more of a gap. But really, these two guys have just kind of separated into their own world. And see, it doesn't seem like Alessandrini and company are just able to catch them.
Well, that's been the case so far tonight. Even in race number 1, these guys finished 1-2. So these guys are just in a whole separate league. They're 1.7 seconds in front of DJ Alessandrini, who's arguably been the one to beat all season.
Ooh, slow down for DeCouger coming out of the curse, true.
And that's going to lose him a spot or two. Here comes Michael Borden down to the inside. And
yeah, lost 2.
Oh, yeah.
And that to make that 3.
Yeah, so that's what happens is if you cut the course a bit too much, there's automated systems in place, and it caught out the 31.
Yeah, those slowdowns are hard to give up. If you go through any other corner after that at speed, it just adds to your time, and you got to give up more time. So it's very hard to give up time. But here comes DeCouger back on Borden.
And he'll get this spot back relatively easily. He's got pace to be running in about 3rd or 4th place, but that slowdown obviously slowed him down quite effectively. There's Thomas Bresci in 12th. Remember, he was involved in that lap 1 collision in race 1, looking to improve his race 2. Currently running 12th at the moment, trying to get by Sam Scott and Michael Borden.
Again, stemming from problems from that first turn accident, there seems to be 5 cars that have been knocked out of the race.
And we add Nathan Saxon to that list as well. So Saxon, Wilson, Peak, Hume, Stacy, all out of the race due to that lap 1 incident or some derivative of it, and a lot of damage. That's high speed on that straightaway section, so those cars all taken out. For the top spot, though, continues to be a battle here between these top 2. They keep gapping Alessandrini. It's a 2-second gap back to him, but only a half second between them up front.
Yeah, but it also looks like Luke Pfeiffer, he's called it a day after getting that penalty. He's chosen to retire the car in 18th position.
That's really unfortunate for him as well. So, well, race number 1 was awful clean, and this one has been clean as well, with the exception of that lap 1 incident. But a lot of drivers claimed in that early going incident. And, you know, it's amazing how often, you know, we race on all these corners, all these complex areas, and they manage to wreck on the straightaway, but that's just how it is sometimes. Wow, look at Sam Scott and Bressie going at it. This is all the way back for 11th. And for the top spot, Busa went defensive on the front straightaway, Finian. Is that too early to be defensive? Or is that what you want to be doing to just keep that 0-3 from sneaking a nose in?
I think it's exactly what he needs to do. If he gives that opportunity, I imagine that Hartley's going to do everything in his power to try to at least take advantage of it. So you really don't want to give him a bone because he'll definitely chew on it.
And battle for third is actually getting a bit spicy back here. Alessandrini's, he's got Jesse Stevens and Chris Henn. I'm a bit surprised at Chris Henn's pace here, Finian. I thought he would be up battling for the lead like he was in race 1. Not so in race 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this is just because other drivers have learned from what they did in race 1 and have improved their pace as opposed to Chris Henn, or is he just being a little bit more careful, just trying to make it to the end of this race, like I was saying earlier?
Well, I'm sure maybe being a bit conservative on the point side of things is probably going to help him, because you have a bad finish like you did in race 1, it's going to throw you way down the point standings. There's really no reason to throw it even more away by being overly aggressive in the second race. Remember, the only prize here is essentially, I mean, Rick Motec is offering race by race prizes, but the big one's at the end of the season, and you can't do that if you keep having bad luck. All right, top spot. Hartley's keeping pace with the 34 Finian. I just don't know if he's got enough pace. He's going to have to force Matt Busa into a mistake. It's really not easy to get that 34 to make one.
Yeah, and again, I think that's been Busa's greatest strong point. He's a very hard guy to phase out. And yeah, we've seen him under attack before, and here is Hartley again just trying to mount some pressure. He dives it off into 1. But you see the 34 just sticking to his own line, not looking in that mirror, and is running his own race.
Speaking of looking in the mirror, I think DJ Alessandrini is going to have to start doing that in a second, because Jesse Stevens is coming. And Stevens had some great performances at Circuit of the Americas and is hungry for a victory and is trying to get by this 91. And he needs to get by this 91 if he wants to improve his points position, especially after the disastrous race 1 that he had. Off into turn 5 now. Alessandrini clips one of those red anti-cut curbs, and we see a lot of those fast drivers using those, but it's just as easy to knock your fender off or knock your suspension out doing that, so you have to be careful.
It's a very fine line these drivers run when they get up on those curbs. They get a little bit too far, they could get a little tire in the dirt, and then they could go and ruin their entire race by spinning out and hitting the wall.
Yeah, there's definitely a speed advantage there if you choose to use them, but you have to know how to use them. And I'm one of those drivers that loves to use curbs when I can. I love bouncing cars over curbs. Who doesn't? But the problem is that they're made of concrete, in case anybody noticed, and they hurt when you hit them too hard. So you have to be careful. It's risk versus reward, as everything is with racing. But Hartley is closed in on the back of Busa and now putting more pressure on. I think this is exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, Hartley has just been throwing it into these corners. He gains so much time on entry, loses it a little bit on exit, where Busa's been the one gaining there. But yeah, he is not afraid to throw the car into the corners.
About halfway through this race, about 16 and a half minutes left of this 30-minute event. And so far, the only drama has really been on that opening lap, down into turn number 1, the big collision we saw, taking out Pfeiffer, Saxon, Wilson, Peak, Hume, Stacy. That's the list of drivers that is DNF'd from this event. But the battle for the top spot has been contested between Hartley and Busa, with the exception of DJ Alessandrini's bold move up the middle, 3 wide on the first lap.
It really was such an entertaining move by Alessandrini there in the first lap, and I really fear that that'll be overshadowed with the incident that took place. But a really bold move by Alessandrini. Sadly, didn't work out for him, but he's there in third place, hopefully waiting for these top 2 guys to make a mistake or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely go back and watch that replay. But Finney, before I let you go, I just want to mention something that I saw Matt Busa doing. He actually was dragging the right side wheels off the track prior to the entry curbing, which, you know, that's something you want to do to maximize your corner entry speed. But at the same time, if you get on the brakes with the right rear tire in the dirt, you're going for a loop. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, and again, the fine lines we've been talking about, especially at this track in particular. But yeah, Alessandrini, you just kind of say, though it didn't entirely work out for him, that was a fantastic move. He did nail the start there and took advantage of it. Wasn't fully able to do it, but still moved up one spot overall.
Well, that's what I love about manual transmission cars in racing, is because there's so much skill involved just getting through the gears quickly. So, you know, a lot of the newer cars, the paddle-shifted machines, you know, they're awesome. They're feats of technology, but you're just clicking buttons at that point. There's really no skill to it, per se. So it's really satisfying to see someone nail a start like that, row through the gears properly, get that clutch pedal on and off the floor, and complete a pass like he did. It was pretty phenomenal. But Hartley continues to put pressure on Busa. It's only a matter of time now, I think, before Hartley's right there and forces the 34 into a mistake.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Do you think that 03 is waiting?
Oh, he's waiting. I just don't know if he's going to wait too long to the point where the 34 figures out what he's doing wrong. He's stalking him. Down into turn 5, and he waited a long time for that downshift. You heard him get all the way down to the corner entry before he shifted, just to keep that thing safe, get those RPMs down before he put it in the lower gear.
Yeah, and again, that's a key here. There's no, I mean, granted, there is a reason to push. You got to fight for the lead here, but I mean, they don't have any threat from behind them. They're 4 seconds clear of the next car, so.
This is the closest battle on the racetrack. There is one relatively close behind him. Oh, Hartley made a bit of a mistake heading down into the corkscrew, but did he maximize his exit? I think he lost about a tenth going through there to that leader. Riding on board here, you see him dragging the wheels over the exit curbs. Then down into the hairpin. Now, it's all about keeping the momentum up in these cars. They don't have a whole lot of power, about 150 of them. So you got to just get that throttle pedal to the floor as quick as you can and get that car turned in early, which means you kind of have to drive these cars differently than you would something like a GT3 car. You don't have the power to rely on here to get you out, so you have to really focus on your entry and your exit.
It is all about momentum in these cars, like you alluded to earlier, and the drivers are learning that as this race progresses.
It looks like Hartley is starting to lose some time about Luke, so they're getting a little bit separated.
Well, he might have been putting on a bit of pressure and wearing out his own stuff in the process, so we'll keep an eye on that battle, but let's head back to the battle for third. It's Alessandrini, Stevens, and Henn. And remember, Henn led a bunch of the laps in the first race and was right around second place when he blew his motor out, downshifting into turn 11. He sits fifth right now behind Jesse Stevens and Alessandrini, but still a good night for him regardless if he can just get a solid top 5. Steve Ficacci back here, he has served his drive-through penalty. And he's there with Mark Snodgrass in the 67, who was also a part of that opening lap incident. Brian Shabelski, we didn't talk about him a whole lot in race number 1, but damage in that collision has relegated him all the way back to 17th on track. He's the last car running in 17th, so not the way Shabelski's night wanted to be. DJ Alessandrini trying to gap Jesse Stevens, but kind of caught in a draft lock here. Finian, we see that a lot at racetracks like this, where you can't necessarily blow by someone with the draft like you could at a place like Daytona, but the draft keeps people close, but they can't really do anything beyond that.
Yeah, I think that's just the annoying thing too, is that Alessandrini can try only once. He's really good. He would really have to pick up the pace, but yeah, it's so hard to break out of the draft from the guy behind you, and they just kind of keep pestering you. And we see that Stevens has looked quite a few times on the inside. Alessandrini, they got a little bit separated here, but if he gives that a spot, and actually here comes that 13 up the inside. Whoa. Almost big contact.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure on. I think Stevens knows how tricky it is to pass here tonight, and he's willing to stick the nose in a hole that doesn't quite exist, but he might have to force his way through. 11 minutes left in this race. It's about 6 laps worth of racing. Predictions out in front, Finn, and I think Busa's got this wrapped up, but do you think Hartley might have an opportunity?
No, I honestly kind of have to agree with you there. I think Hartley's starting to fall off the pace a little bit. You can see that gap just kind of maintaining itself when, unlike before, when Hartley was right on the bumper of that 34 car.
Yeah, Busa's season in the Peak Antifree Series hasn't been exactly going to plan, but I can tell you it's been going awful good here, and tonight is definitely a show of that. He had one race prior at Summit Point. I believe it was race number 2. But here in race number 1, took home a victory by a pretty decent margin. And Robert Hartley is trying to deny him again, but Hartley's just being able to match him and not being able to run any quicker.
Just to be different from you guys, I do believe Robert Hartley's still in this thing. The gap's only half a second. He's looked good in some parts of the track, but Matt Booster does drive away, and as he does that, he puts 2 tires on the dirt there, but he recovered from that, as Robert Hartley will be on the bumper here as they enter the straightaway.
Yeah, he's definitely there. Just the question is, does he have enough momentum to carry himself by? I think it's going to require a mistake. These two are just so even that it's going to require a mistake by one of them to determine the outcome of this race, but we haven't really seen Matt make one yet, other than tracking out a bit too wide, but everyone's doing that just for a little extra speed.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I don't think Hartley will be able to get around. These guys are so evenly matched. If anything, Hartley's just a little bit faster, but he's just not fast enough to get alongside the 34 and make a pass.
Well, he's putting on a show, though. I mean, 0.2 of a second separated about 20 minutes into a race is awful close. And any mistake can happen at any time. Meanwhile, behind him, I see some battling going on. There's Alessandrini and Jesse Stevens side by side for third.
Yeah, Stevens on the attack here on the unpreferred line on the outside. He's going to have to give that up for now.
And here comes Chris Henn pushing the 91 on through.
No, I don't think he wants to here. He's going to... There he goes. There's Stevens to the inside, almost making contact with the 91.
Now the 33 is going to go down to the inside. 3 wide for a moment, but look at Chris Henn. Takes that opportunity brilliantly and gets on through Jesse Stevens. Now sets his sights on Alessandrini.
Yeah, perfectly gets in front of the 13, clears him. Alessandrini gets a better run. Here comes Stevens now with a run on the 33.
Might have to throw a bit of a block here, but this was, we had talked a lot about this last month at COTA. You have to be defensive, but you can't make blocks. You get one move, and it cannot be in reaction to the driver behind. But here comes Stevens up the inside again to take a look, but the next corner after this is a right-hander. Side by side, a little bit of contact there, pushing, shoving. The 13 gets on by the 33. It got tongue-tied there. And Stevens takes over 4th. And he's off track again.
He goes off the track and across the track, back onto the track. He's going to try to defend. Here comes the 33 on the outside.
And Chris Henn's going to try to make that work, but can't do it. He's loose out of turn 11 with a big run, though. Can he do anything with the 13?
He's going to have a bit of a draft here. This is the best opportunity you have to use that draft.
I think Stevens is going to stay off to the driver's left here and force the 33 to go out wide, but this is where he can get a driver wrapped up. Now the 13 comes over in front of the 33. That's probably going to be a no-no there. Now, there's always a discussion, Finian, about whether or not once you make your move to defend, are you allowed to go back towards the racing line? And a lot of places will tell you no.
Yeah, I think it kind of is a matter of if you're clear by a decent margin to blend back in the line, or if you are blending back in the line to block this guy. Yeah, I think that's where the discretion it lies.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of gray area there, and we know everyone trying to exploit gray areas. There was an extensive discussion last week after Circuit of the Americas Finian about the incident limit and about the enforcement of on-track action because drivers want to know the rules. They want to have it be a black and white box, and the way the rules are written, there are gray areas, and so sometimes you have to make a black and white call about a gray area, and drivers don't like that. They want to know exactly what they can do and to use that to their full extent of their ability, but that's not always the case, and that led to a little bit of frustration post-COTA. So Busa continues to lead, but Hartley putting all the pressure that he can on this 34.
Yeah.
And we should be coming to about 4 laps to go here at the line.
Yeah, he's really caught back up to the 34. Looks like he's ready for another charge, but again, he needs to get a good enough run out of one of these corners, maybe even looking towards turn 1. He's actually got a run building up here. Will he do anything with it, though?
He's got a big run, but going to take a look to driver's right down into the second turn. And he's going to try to cross him over, but Busa's just going to hug that left side line. And see, it's a double apex corner most of the time, but when you're defending like that, a lot of times it's better just to hug it and make it one big long apex.
Yeah, Busa did exactly that. He's able to defend the position. I think Hartley, if he's going to try to do it in turn 1, he's got to be on that inside.
And now I think they're both using those off tracks to their ability, Finney. And remember, you get 17x that you can use. I don't know what they're at now, but I think they're going to start using them more and more as a renewable or a non-renewable resource. We have 5 minutes and 50 seconds left in this 30-minute race, and you see them starting to take more liberties with those track limits.
Yeah, they're really running wide out there and throwing everything on the wall now.
I mean,
whoa, Jesse Stevens off. Look, he's sideways and into the barrier hard.
Big impact for the 13. He's going to try to scramble to get back on the racetrack. But we stay green, and Stevens is going to lose a bunch of spots here. That's a shame for him. He's going to go down probably to about 9th or 10th place here. Let's go back and take a look at it. And this is coming out of turn number 6, who's between Alessandrini and Chris Henn. And he probably just hits this inside curb a bit too much. Yep, clobbers the inside curb, unsettles the car, drags the wheel off course, and goes for a loop. A shame for the 13. Was involved in a collision in race 1 and similar in race 2. Just ahead of them, though, how about Jonathan White and Travis Schwenke going at it for 6th? This battle raging on with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, some guys really starting to close up here towards the end of this race in the final battle. Speaking of which, Hartley still on the back one of the 34 goes wide a little bit.
Yeah, he's there now, Finney. It's go time for Hartley, and now Busa is doing nothing but mirror driving. Here comes Robert Hartley now with a big head of steam. He's right on that bumper. Where do you go? What do you do? And do you wait for a passing opportunity in these closing laps, or do you just kind of force yourself into any place you can get?
I think he's gonna have to force himself. There haven't been many opportunities the 34 has presented. He's been doing a great job at that, and I think the 03 is gonna have to make one.
Up into turn number 6 now. This is where we saw Jesse Stevens go off course last time through. Beautiful apex for the 03. Busa runs out wide. He's going to lose some momentum up the hill. Here comes the 03.
I don't think he's got enough of a run. He's going to try, though.
He'll sit on it for now. Down into the corkscrew. Several story drop. Couple feet between these leaders. And now the race is on.
And Hartley is dogging him right now. He's all over the 34 now.
Through turns 9 and 10. And then down to turn 11. This is probably one of the best passing opportunities on the racetrack. We're going to have 2 laps to go. Hartley right on the bumper of the leader, Matt Busa. Busa's led almost all the laps. I think he has led every lap in this race, as well as last race. Busa is on a tear tonight, but Hartley trying to deny him the sweep.
Yeah, and Hartley going to be building up that run again. 34 is going to go to vent to the inside. We've seen this several times before.
To the outside. Here comes Hartley. On the brakes deeper than the 34. And maybe try to cross him over here. Out of turn 2.
Yeah, he can't do it. Busa's nailed turn 1 going defensive like that. He's just been able to beat Hartley there every single time.
2 laps to go, so we're just over 3 miles of racing left in round number 4, the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Busa and Hartley continue to dogfight.
Finian said it there. Matt Busa has been perfect in turn 1 these last 3 or 4 laps, where Robert Hartley's really been putting the pressure on him, and he's had to be, and that's kind of fended off Robert Hartley's attacks in that corner.
Now, we talked about defensive maneuvers, Finian. Well, I think that 34's going to have to make that car real wide. MX-5s aren't known for being very big, but Busa's going to have to make it feel like a tank on this last lap and a half here.
Hartley's got to run looking in the corkscrew here. He's going to have to back off, though.
These guys are so good that they are absolutely braking at the latest possible opportunity. But here comes Hartley with a run to the outside.
Got a great run out of the corkscrew. Nowhere to go.
On the bumper of the 34, coming back to the white flag. 1 lap to go here in a moment. Busa scrambling in front of the 03. Does he make a mistake? Can Hartley get by? He takes a look to the inside, thinks better of it. He's got 1 lap and 11 corners left to plan this out.
Oh boy, here he comes, Hartley, with a great run. One of the best runs he's had out of the final corner. White flag's going to be in this air this time by.
Chasing Busa down the front straightaway. The Williams Esports driver in that bright pink car is Hartley in the cream machine. Down the front straightaway to the outside. Into turn number 1. Busa's been perfect here. Does Hartley respond? Well done by Busa.
Oh, Hartley's got a run, though. Ooh, taps him.
Contact there. The 34 comes right back over in front of the 03. Through turn 3 now. Hartley's got about 3/4 of a lap left. And now the chess game begins at over 100 miles an hour. Where do you do this? It's a strategy game now.
I think he might have to do it in the corkscrew. Don't think he might, but I don't think he's got much of a choice.
White flag officially flying in the air. We're coming back to the checkers this time. The 34 of Busa leads this race. He's led the majority of this race. He doesn't want to give it up now, but Hartley is putting the pressure on through turn 6. Takes a look just to get out of the mirror of the 34. Get him looking through turn 6 now. High speeds, low downforce up the hill.
Yeah, Busa got a great run through there as opposed to the last 2 times they've been here.
To the corkscrew now. Does Hartley take a look? He's going to wait here. This is perhaps one of his best opportunities. He's going to wait. Down to the bottom of the corkscrew, to the outside in turn number 9. If he can hold it here, he'll have a possibility of passing him in turn 10. He gets re-cleared by the 34, and now he's got 2 corners left.
He's got 2 corners here. He's trying to look into turn 10. Busa covering him off. One more opportunity.
He's going to have to make a dive for it. Down into the final corner, to the inside. The 34 throws the block. Through the final corner, Matt Busa out of the final corner. Here comes Robert Hartley. He's not going to have a big enough run. Back to the checkered flag. Matt Busa in the 34 is going to potentially sweep this race, and he does. Hartley just about a 1/10 of a second back. What a finish.
Yeah, great finish from both these guys. DJ Alessandrini will come home in 3rd place. Chris Henn in 4th. Paul Darling 5th. Jonathan White in 6th. Travis Schwenke in 7th. Jonathan DeCousier in 8th. Jesse Stevens 9th, and Michael Borden round out your top 10.
Wow, what a race we saw there. Busa and Hartley going at it. Oh, there's the car in the fence, and wow, what a race for Busa. What a night for Busa, sweeping the events, and Hartley coming up short twice in a row. Heartbreak for him, so close yet so far. But great points night for that 0-3, and for DJ Alessandrini, 2nd and 3rd respectively for those guys. Actually, our podium was exactly the same in both races.
Oh, yeah. Would you look at that?
That was incredible. All right, let's take a look at your session results here. We talked about Busa, Hartley, Alessandrini, Henn. Paul Darling gets redemption for the top 5 that he threw away last race. Thomas Bresci comes home 11th. We talked about his struggles in the first race. Well, he'll rebound for at least top 15. Jonathan DeCousier, 2 top 10s tonight, and he ends up 8th in race number 2. Wow, what a race that was. It was all that, about 28 minutes of preparing for those last 2 minutes of racing, Finian, and that did not disappoint.
Yeah, that absolutely didn't disappoint. It was a great battle between both those guys, and they gave each other the utmost respect. They could have easily hit each other and bang doors, but they tried to keep it as clean as possible, and I gotta applaud both of them for doing that. Okay, so before we go to break and grab the people we're going to talk to, I do want to go back and analyze the first lap, first corner incident. So we're going to just give me a moment here. We're going to take a look at that. I think it's important to kind of analyze the reason for the penalties as well. So, Finian, I think it was the 51 of Ficacci that got a penalty, and so let's look from up above, and maybe you and I can we'll play this through and tell me what you see. 51 is that silver car. Oh, he bumps one of those machines. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see. Oh, it was the darker silver. Sorry, excuse me. The 51. Oh, hold on a second. The 51's on the right-hand side of the right-hand silver. Oh, that's the 41. Yeah, so this is the incident that Luke Pfeiffer, he got black flag for. He caused this incident. Ah, okay. He got into the 41. That sent him into the 51. And then what happened to Ficacci getting black flagged, I think he had an incident exiting turn 1. Oh, I see. He rejoins here and... Oh, it drives right into the 06, which is Luke Pfeiffer. So I wonder if that was a retaliation there, Finian. That's my guess. Yeah, I think that might have been it right there. And I saw a couple other cars get involved, and there was a big tumble back. I think it was Snodgrass in the 67 that went over on his lid. Who was it? I'm trying to find... Can you tell me what that car was that went over on its roof? Was it the 30? I think it was the 30 of Jimmy Hume. Yeah, oh yeah, yes it was. Over on his roof, and thank goodness for the roll bars. And here's another look from Jimmy's on board. Oh boy, and that's the 41 of Saxon that got collected in that one as well. Yeah, since we're back here, I really want to analyze that restart that Alessandrini had. Yeah, actually, we should
we should take a look at that here. Give me 1 second to jump to it. And we'll take a look at his start. And we'll ride on board with Alessandrini for this one. And, all right, coming back to the green, here's a look at the 91s on board. Got a great jump and just made the hole in the middle, and Hartley let him go there. I think he thought he was going to get turned. And Hartley just yeets right on through, for lack of a better term. And this almost worked out, but ended up getting passed by the end of the lap.
Yeah, I think... Oh, actually, it was Hartley that gave him a little bit of a bump entering turn 1, but yeah, it wasn't enough to unsettle the 91, but Busa just beat him on through.
The 42 of Borden came flying into turn 1 and knocked someone off track. I didn't quite see who that was, but an entertaining turn 1 for sure, an entertaining race, absolutely. So here's another look at your race results. We'll let them scroll on through one more time before we go grab Busa, Hartley, Alessandrini. We'll probably talk to Christopher Henn as well, because his night kind of had a heartbreaker in the first round. So we're going to head back to the booth, and we're going to grab the people we're going to talk to. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with your race winner and a couple others. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine, SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge, and SimTV. Here now with third place finisher DJ Alessandrini. DJ, I think you finished third in both races tonight, but a great performance and a great start in race number 2. Talk to us about that launch you got, and then the battle with Chris Henn and others in race number 2.
So I noticed that Busa was climbing up in the RPMs in second gear, and the Miata has decent torque, so I just flipped it to third, and right when I slammed it into third, the lights went green, so I was already full throttle, and whoever was on my left me enough room, so I kind of just like nudged my way over there, and Hartley didn't stick next to Busa, so I kind of just drove up next to him, and I just pinched Busa on the inside coming into turn 1 and 2, and I had the inside for the next corner, and I enjoyed the very temporary lead. Busa and Hartley are wicked fast on this track, and I knew that coming in. This is definitely my weakest track in the calendar. So to get 2 third places is quite an achievement and a good points night for me, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, your lead in the race might have been temporary, but your lead in the point settings, it's now grown to you've been holding the lead for several weeks now, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. I think the whole field's got to be worried if this is your worst track. Coming away with 2 podiums is awfully impressive. But, you know, this place is definitely tricky. It's so precise. What about it makes it so tricky?
If I knew why I'm slow here, or at least slow compared to Hartley and Busa, it probably wouldn't be my weakest track. There's something about turn 1 and 2. I think I'm losing 2/10 there easy, but not entirely sure what it is. During race 1, I started experimenting around with it since I had nobody in front of me, and since everybody decided to throw grenades into their engine bay, I had a bunch of room behind me, so I started experimenting there just because I kind of had a little bit of a crazy night getting here tonight. I was stuck in Pittsburgh, and there was a highway shutdown, and I gave my buddy Alex Peel a call. He's a Pittsburgh native, and set up a video chat, and put the phone up in the windshield, and he told me how to get out of the city like the secret way. Google Maps was confused, and sure enough, he got me here. So I'm dedicating both of these podiums to Alex Peel.
Wow, that's quite the story there, DJ. Well, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you in a couple weeks, but thanks for chatting with us, and congratulations on 2 solid podiums here tonight.
All right, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. All right, next we're going to talk to Robert Hartley, who finished second, I believe, in both races tonight, Robert. Well, you had a lot of pace tonight, but you missed out on the victory in race number 2 by only a 10th. Do you need another lap or need another gear? What'd you need to get by that 34?
I needed a mistake out of Busa. He drove a perfect race. Wasn't much I could do. I tried to set him up everywhere I could, and without making some kind of crazy dive bomb, it wasn't really much I could do.
When you talk about putting pressure on someone like Busa, who's so good, you know, there's a lot of places to pass at a lot of racetracks, but Laguna Seca, I feel like, is pretty tricky to pass at. I think, you know, your turn 2 down there is probably a good opportunity. Turn 11 is, the corkscrew is, but coming up the last lap, you had an opportunity to look up the inside. Can you do a dive bomb into the corkscrew, or is that just asking for trouble?
Yeah, that's asking for trouble. You're probably both going to crash, and it's not really worth it. Both of you be mad at the end of the race instead of, you know, we both congratulating each other on a good race. It was pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Obviously, points night, very good for you here as we head forward off to the next couple rounds. We head to Sonoma next, which is another California-based racetrack. So how do you feel about your chances out there in Sonoma?
Yeah, I like Sonoma. I like the way it flows, so hopefully there'll be a little more passing opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you, Robert, for coming on board and chatting with us a little bit. And I realized I had the wrong graphic showing the whole time. We're not talking to Busa, we're talking to Hartley. Robert, thank you for your time, and good luck in Sonoma, or just here in a couple weeks, and we'll hopefully see you in Victory Lane there.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. All right, now we're going to talk to Matt Busa. I had your graphic up the whole time when we were talking to Robert, which well, we want to talk to you for sure, Matt. Well, 2 victories tonight. First of all, huge congratulations. I remember back at VIR, you said you'd never driven the racetrack before and had a great night there, but an even better night tonight. Led the vast majority of the laps here. Came home with 2 victories. You swept the night. Did Robert Hartley have you sweating those last couple laps?
Yeah, he did. He's always tough competition, and throughout the beginning of the race and the middle of the race, I was trying to manage my tires well, and I couldn't really tell if he was also doing the same or if he was going all out. And towards the end there, I felt like he had a little bit better pace. I couldn't really tell if it was draft or raw speed, but yeah, a couple corners I had to start braking way later to try to prevent him from getting on the inside, especially the last corner, and got really close a couple times, but luckily he was able to hold on.
We asked Robert, you know, how tricky is it to pass here? What passing opportunities are the best? But it looked like you were defending pretty much every opportunity you could. Do you think you can make a pass pretty much anywhere around here? Or I mean, is that why you were defending everywhere? Or do you think there's really only 3 or 4 places you can make it work?
I think realistically, just the first and the last turn are the best opportune spots. But I know I got the lead from DJ right after the corkscrew, and that's more of like a dive bomb type spot. Since the racing line, you have to arc it out a lot for that turn. But yeah, I didn't really see him try to attempt any passes anywhere besides the first and last turn, so those were the main ones.
It was very clear to us that you two were very, very close this round, but as we head to Sonoma in a couple weeks for round number 5, another Californian racetrack, I wouldn't say it's very similar at all. It's very technical for sure. How do you feel like your chances are for sweeping both those races there here in a couple weeks?
It's definitely a track I know, and it's a track I enjoy, so hopefully there's high chances of that happening. I do know that our next race in the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is also at Sonoma, so that's probably going to mess with my rhythm with braking points and everything, since I'll be driving a ton of laps there in the stock car, and then having to switch to the Mazda. It's going to be quite the difference, but hopefully I can adjust well and have the same results.
Absolutely. Hopefully there's some takeaways there, Matt. Well, thank you again for chatting with us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at Sonoma, but good luck to you at Sonoma in the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series as well.
Yep, and really quick, just want to give a shout out to Williams Esports for all the support, and our partners. We have Chill Blast, Team Racer, BenQ, Playseat, Fnatic, One All Sports, and thanks for you guys for broadcasting, everybody for organizing this league.
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in a couple weeks, buddy. Thanks for chatting.
You betcha. Thank you.
I don't think we could get a hold of Chris Henfinian, so unfortunately not going to be able to chat with him tonight. But all in all, Busa really impressive tonight with that Williams Esports team. Robert Hartley and DJ Alessandrini, the podium matching from race 1 to race 2. Well, I think we've established the 3 best guys at Laguna Seca, but we head to Sonoma in a couple weeks, and that'll probably shake some things up a little bit. One of the more technical tracks we've visited so far.
Yeah, definitely one of the more technical tracks we visit. So that'll be an interesting race to watch for these guys. But yeah, just a fantastic race. Especially race number 2 had a little bit of everything. Had an absolutely chaotic start, a 3-wide run down to turn 1, and then that epic race between Hartley and Busa at the end there was absolutely phenomenal to watch.
Well, Jarrett, we were supposed to have you banished to the dungeon of the race steward lounge, but not a whole lot tonight. Are you surprised at how clean everything was in both races? I think we really only had one major incident each time.
Yeah, I was really surprised, and I was even more surprised that the incidents that took place, none of them were in the corkscrew. I kind of set that up as a danger corner before the race started, and nothing really happened there. So that just kind of shows credit to these drivers and credit to this series for finding such clean and talented drivers.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us here tonight from round number 4 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Round number 5 is going to come up in just a couple weeks. I believe, Finian, you said it was June 5th.
Yes.
All right, so June 5th, we head to Sonoma, California, the beautiful wine country there, for another very challenging technical Californian road course. So meet us there on June 5th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again to Winding Road Racing, to Paradigm Shift, as well as Rickmotech and LevelUp. So all those sponsors have come on board. Please check their links out in the description and take a gander there. If you like racing, you're going to like all those links and all those websites. And please give a subscription to Winding Road Magazine. They've allowed us, SimTV, to come to their channel and broadcast these races for SPEC MX-5. And we thank them for their hospitality. And we appreciate everything and everyone watching. And thank you again. We're SimTV. You can find us over at youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting. We'll be on again tomorrow night, 8:30 with Scars Ferrari Challenge. Lots of stuff coming up there. Very exciting things the next couple of weeks for SimTV. So thanks a lot from SimTV and everyone else. We appreciate you watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you on June 5th.